This is where it gets
Yeah.
tricky, because what are your options? Your options are every cliche that's been invented before you, or true art and true creativity, and make something else, make something new. Because some of the episodes that I watched, I was like, there's no way the human could not conceive of this plot, of this mechanism. It's too convoluted.
Okay, this part, okay, we have lots to talk about. So I don't know, man. Is this working? Is this not working? As a creative person, this goes for everybody. I think that you will inevitably, and you are destined to suffer. Okay? As a creative person, that's your lot. He's like, bro,
Just
you see me? You know it. You know it. This is what you want, man. You know. The self-evident. Don't want to experience those emotions. I don't want it. Like, imagine playing an angry guy. Like, I don't want to be angry. I don't, but you have to be, though.
But that's the commitment to the art.
Right?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome
back.
to the next episode of Deep Fried Spork.
How fried are we going to be today?
Yeah, today should be a medium level fry, I think.
Medium level, okay.
Yeah, medium level, not too deep, not too light. But like last time we did a deep dive into games, and that's like we really didn't even scratch the surface for everything that we could be talking in there. So we'll probably come back to that topic, but I wanted to dive into a related topic to it, which is the topic of creativity and what creative success looks like. And I saw this video online that I wanted to see, and we'll check it out and have our commentary on it. It's from the channel called Design Theory, on why creative success destroys people. And that title intrigued me because there's definitely something to it. The creative process is very, very interesting, very strange, and precarious as well. So it's not as simple as like, ooh, I'm making successful art and there's no problems and whatsoever.
I make this. You made this?
Yeah, it's all kinds of interesting stuff that can be happening on that front. So let's check out that video and see what commentary we have on it. Okay, this like right from the bat, it's kind of giving me a lot of food for thought already.
Yeah,
just the intro and the fact that if you're a performing artist that's your bread and butter, and you have to deliver, there's so much. It's so vulnerable of a process. Like, first of all, because that's the whole gig. You have to make something, and you have to put it out, and everybody gonna judge it, because that's the whole nature of anything creative. You make something funny, you make something interesting, something poignant. Any art, anything creative, it will be judged. Even like you make a simple sketch, people are gonna criticize it. It's just everybody's gonna do it. That's the whole gig. So to be that vulnerable, to constantly be putting out anything, how do you just not die from self-doubt at every corner? Just that alone, that alone already boggles my mind.
Yeah, you're entering this unknown part of. First of all, you'll be as a starting artist, you'll be like, holy, people actually like this? Oh wow. Well, then you get that. Okay, so first of all, there's that fame part. It goes to your head.
That's if
For
you
some
do get
people,
lucky and notice
you
that
go to your
something's
head,
working.
right? Second of all, then that kind of invisible pressure, right? Oh, people like this. They give me money for this, so I need to perform. I need to literally perform, right? As a performing artist, a musician, you are performing that. And then there's also the problem with people's stereotyping you, pigeonholing you, in that kind of specific part of the art that they like. For example, this is the part I was even falling victim of, is that one of my favorite band is Linkin Park, and I only like the old stuff. And I'm sorry, right? But as an artist, you don't want that sucks. Why would because your
As an artist,
viewers,
you
you
constantly evolve. You have to put out new stuff. You have to
yeah,
try new
you
stuff,
have to
which
try
means
new
you
stuff.
change. Your art changes, the direction changes, and this is where it's weird because like good fans who have understanding and stuff, they will be with you all the way because something about you they liked, and if they understand, if they're just intellectual people, they will be just your fans, and then they will
Yeah,
give a chance all of your art because obviously there's something, there's a spark, there's some kind of talent, etc. But that's just not the case with everybody. That's there will, whatever you do, there will be people who will hate you, there will be people who will be flipping, changing their mind, who will be criticizing you, and that is not even escapable. So that's the part where, like, if you become an artist and if you become successful, there's definitely some kind of skill or some kind of policy that you have to adopt where it's almost
yeah,
like you separate the art and the process from yourself as much
from
as
yourself.
possible, because you can't even listen to people. It's almost like you have to get it out there and forget about it, almost like that.
The other thing and the other example is essentially Joji, the pink guy.
Yeah.
He had that whole pink guy persona, and everybody want him to continue to be the pink guy.
Yeah.
But he actually loved to become a singer, songwriter, a musician. That's his passion. That's what he wanted. So he had to do a hard divorce with pink guy. He essentially just like, I'm no longer gonna be pink guy. This is me. So, you don't like it, you can get the fuck get the fuck out,
Hard
right?
pivot.
Hard pivot. And yeah, he lost a lot of fans because people were like, oh, I only want you to be pink guy. I don't care about you as a musician,
Yeah.
but there's a huge amount of people that just basically, never, took him up on his new endeavor. But he's just telling, you know what, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. He just
Whatever. I
wants,
want to be me.
he chooses
Okay.
the thing. Yeah.
So imagine the pressure. Like everybody, when they see you, do the pink guy thing, do the pink guy thing. And you're
Yeah.
like, what? That's just a character. I don't want to be that. That's
Yeah.
just, but imagine if you're so pressured where like you make, okay, first of all, you make good money, but then it's like, what do I really want to be known as pink guy my entire life, even though
Well,
I'm making millions
that's
of
the
dollars?
thing. Like eventually you outgrow anything, any project, any character, any creative form too. Like I know, I think maybe some people are more, um, they have more longevity in terms of their projects. But for myself, I noticed like things get old for me. Like even creatively, even if
Yeah.
I find an interesting style, I find the thing that works. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Most of the time, in a couple months, I'm like, this is trash. Like, I need to do something. I need to make something else. Like, this is too old. It's done. You figured it out, but you move on. Especially in this day and age, it's just the speed of everything. Like, I literally notice it on myself that even my tastes, like, somehow everything just gets old too soon. Like, it doesn't even stay. Like before, you could be listening to your favorite band for years. That doesn't even happen anymore. That's there are too many bands. I don't think I have any contemporary favorite bands that I would say, just because I listen to so much different stuff, and it depends on my mood. It's not like I'm listening to the same band all year round. I kind of like come back here and there, but you end up coming back to the stuff you've forgotten the most. That's what I find, because you would like put on Linkin Park. How many albums are you gonna listen through until you were like, all right, let's listen to something else?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's all like that. But that's the tricky part, is that as an artist, you have to also compete with all of that. You have to compete with other artists. It's like, I think some comedian or somebody was explaining that gig that if you're a stand-up comic and you're selling out like a place, right? You do a gig there. You're
Yeah.
not competing just with comedians. You're competing with every type of entertainment that is
Out there.
booking the venue and getting people to buy the tickets. So you're competing against circus and orchestra and opera and theater and everything. And that's crazy. that means that's how much pressure is on you. But I'm like, I'm at that level, I can't even think about that level, dude. Like performing in front of thousands of people in real time. Just
Yeah.
imagine the stakes, imagine the pressure. You are there, you are performing. It has to be funny, it has
Yeah.
to be on the level, it has to be perfect, essentially, right? I can't imagine how do you even
Yeah.
get to
Cause
that point?
cause I feel like for me, it's like there's that fear, like, am I a one-hit wonder? Like maybe I can create one piece of work that's just like, okay, great, it's a great piece of art, but then can I consistently do that after that, right? Like that's
Yeah,
such
that's the
a
thing, because there's no formula, right? For good art, for what the hit is. It definitely is some kind of sense and a skill, and you have an intuition, and there's certain aesthetics involved that you are able to gauge with experience and time, that okay, this is moving in that direction and not that direction. But to make it like groundbreaking, because this is, I've heard it from a lot of successful entertainers, that it's kind of, you have to deal with it, because first time it happens, you sold out an arena and stuff, you're successful, you have a great special, whatever, right? Well, guess what? You have to beat that now,
I continue to
because
be
yeah, because everything
because
else will be just like,
you're a
he's losing
commodity now,
steam. Yeah,
right? Because see that's the thing, right? Once that the piece of art hits and like you get so many fans, people love you, and then you have these vouchers come in just right away. Companies, record label, whatever, they're like, I want money out of you. That's what they want. That's why they offer you all this money, thinking, oh yeah, yeah, sign with us, sign with
yeah,
us. We're
yeah.
gonna make you even more famous. Blah blah blah.
It's another case of the dealership. They're just trying to
Yeah,
make their own contracts that favor them. And if you're not experienced, if you don't know the right people,
you're
you'll
gonna
get taken
yeah,
advantage of.
because they
Like
see
that's,
you
yeah.
like you get washed. You're a wash by the
You're the
fame. You're like
producer.
you think you as the artist, you think that oh everything is possible. Oh that's nice, it's cool. Everybody is trying to sign me up for the thing, and then you don't know what's under
They just,
the
yeah, they just want to get you on the hook, essentially. They want to hook you up. This is the contract. You owe us 5 specials. They're gonna be like 100K each, and then you end up blowing up so much that if you didn't do that contract, you'd be like a multimillionaire. But now you're locked into that contract, and they own you, and they're making all the money because they had the resources, the processes, the professionals in place, the lawyers in place to set all of this up, because that's their business model. They're finding the guys who can be the product, and they're productize them. But their business is in ownership. They're owning such people. That's the crazy part about the entertainment industry. I mean, plenty of artists have been outspoken about that. You know, Dave Chappelle, Prince, they've been like pretty open with the public about how much of a predatory business that is, and that, imagine you are an artist. Essentially, you are a genius. If you are an artist, like a world artist, right? Like Prince, or or Michael Jackson, or whoever, just like a world star that everybody knows by. You're a genius. You literally are, because otherwise, you wouldn't be able to make something that you know so many people want. But you're still one person. You're still one person. You need friends. You need allegiances. You need somebody on your side, and that's not as simple as just like, oh, I'll pay you money. That's trust. You need to find the people who you trust. You need to have your own team of people. It's an empire. You have to build an empire. That's on the on the highest scale of it. But if you're a small artist, and if you're just discovering yourself and figuring things out, that may not even ever happen. You may like art so much and you're into it so much, but it's just the output is that you just love the process,
yeah.
you like what you're producing, and nobody else does.
I think to make it sustainable as an artist, like exactly as you say here, that you have to have a internally consistent kind of framework that you put yourself under. that no matter how much successful you do get, it should not change what makes you want to be an artist in the first place, because it's so easy to get bamboozled by
That
all
would
this.
require a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah, you gotta be like, okay, I'm all this money is tempting, but I'm gonna say no, right? You gotta be willing to walk away, right? Essentially, because everybody want a piece of you, and there is a
Yeah,
hook.
the
And
biggest thing is that like artists think they would want success, but at what cost, right? What is the cost? Because really what most people creatively and otherwise would want, first of all, creative freedom. So that's the whole point of art, that you get to say exactly how it should be. But that is only possible if you're completely independent, solo, and somehow essentially have nothing to lose. So you go, balls to the wall, and you do essentially like trust the universe or something, right? It's just but completely give yourself away to the creative process, and somehow able to sustain yourself while you're doing it. That's not sustainable, right? Like what's something's got to give. The living in today's day and age is like expensive. If you don't have a consistent way to make money, it's not going to be sustainable, right? Eventually you'll just run out of resources. The other side is that you sell, right? You sell yourself and you get some kind of employment in the creative industry and start doing some jobs and gigs that are kind of put some constraints on your creative faculties, but you still get to work essentially as an artist, right? A working artist. That's a different life too.
yeah, because see, everything else is a matter of, in a way, one could see this as a matter of economics, because for any kind of art form, there has to be a way for it to be pushed to more people, right? You as an artist want that too, but that just means there's cost to it. Imagine there are publishers, there are people who print books. You can write a book, but can you print a book yourself, right? Not really, right? I mean, how many are you going to be able to print? So there's the whole industrial kind of capacity that has to be behind it for it to be something more. So obviously there are people who recognize that, oh, this is the industry I could be in. You can have an artist here. I can sell his stuff to more people. I can make money that way. So it's all become a business, right? So, and of course, especially when it comes to music, like it's just you need all this stuff to make it happen, right? It's one thing if you do a garage band, but if you're gonna do proper recordings, everything, you need the gears, you need all that stuff, and then who's gonna be selling it too? Because if you're starting off, nobody knows you, and you know the power of advertisement, right? Like despite the fact that everybody hates ads, but sometimes the idea of marketing is that you need to push it to more people so they can enjoy it as well.
Yeah, that's kind of like the paradox and the dichotomy. You would think that just the art being good enough itself would sell itself, and I think that's true to a certain extent
To a
because
certain extent.
people like I mean a lot of small bands. That's how they start, right? Famous bands. That's how it started small for them. They were just that passionate, and they did have something. They had some kind of something because it starts to pick up, right? More important people are like, yeah, they do sound good, and it picks up. But that is the combination of talent, passion, and then yeah, some kind of commitment to it. It's just every time I kind of learn about it, it seems like an organic process. Just it seems like it was destined. Like yeah, they just had it all the ingredients were there for them to just keep being successful for decades. There are a lot of
For some people, yeah, that just kind of end up happening. But for others, it might not be as smooth. It might not be as, you know, and also, like I said before, there's also the problem of, in a lot of ways, it's very hard to find any artist who can consistently hit the target, because
yeah.
art is subjective. So it's like you can be trying something new, but it could just basically fall flat, because people just be like, this is boring. This is not as good as the other one, or this is, you know, whatever reason that people don't like it for, right? But you are trying something new. Obviously, is good for you creatively, because you don't want to be doing the same thing again and again, right? But
Yeah, you either have to create your unique style, unique format. My favorite example of that is some painters, contemporary painters, that essentially find their own style or make their own twist or method on something, uh, and it works really well because it creates the whole brand, that like the whole thing that they're doing, and it is unique and it is good. But they just keep doing it then. Like they have a whole portfolio. They create the market essentially because they kind of perfected their style. They're like, okay, this is unique, this is interesting looking, and they became big enough where people actually do buy it because people literally buy their paintings because the popularity grows, the prices for the paintings grow, and they literally become this artist, which is perfect because all they do is they do their art. They enjoy making their art, and people actually buy it. They like pay dozens of thousands of dollars for it sometimes, you know. Most likely not, maybe like a few thousands, a few hundreds here and there. And even that is kind of like the best case scenario for most of what artists, right? Because not everybody's going to be a genius level amazing style because it's a confluence of the abilities, of the talents, of the desires. And to me that's the biggest part, is that I don't understand how much of it is some kind of innate talent that you're just supposed to what recognize or feel that you have, or and how much of it is the actual skill that you develop with a lot of investment of your attention and time throughout
I,
time. That's
I
the
think
part that I don't understand. Like,
because one of
which is it?
a kind of rough heuristic is sort of like how difficult do you find doing the set art? Because this is the thing I found out for myself. Like I actually went through art school, but not specifically learning about drawing, but I started early with drawing because I thought, oh, that's the basic artistic kind of skill that you need to have, right? So I started with drawing, with life drawing, and I was not too bad in terms of copying, but I found for myself, if I want to be creative with it, I'm having a real hard time. That informs me that okay, as a person who can copy with drawing, like as you have a model there, I can draw exactly the same as what I see. Like I have that skill. But for me to be creatively with the drawings, I have a real
Mm,
hard time. Part of it, of course, is skill. But for me, how I kind of assess this is like you get to a sense like, okay, you're having a real hard time trying to learn this. And part of that might just be that it's not just, yes, it's a matter of skill, but some people are just good at it.
yeah,
I find
this
that
is
I'm
it's
not.
definitely a
So,
factor. There's certain amount of effortlessness or automation
yes,
kind of has to be to that process where it just happens for you. Because yeah, I agree. If how would I describe this? Yeah, like the way you're saying is it is like that. Also, I think we talked about poetry before, and you mentioned that poems don't really do nothing for you. Like you don't really
right.
understand the
I
point of
can
them,
write
right?
like
You,
someone that I remember I had some creative writing classes, right? So you do poems, and the teacher really loved my poem, but they don't like my short stories. They don't like this. Like they like the poem better. But to me, when I came up with those poems, I was just bullshitting. I was like, oh yeah, just colorful words. Okay, I'll able to find the kind of playful way to
you,
use words, and
you
that was the poem.
simulated it.
Yeah, I basically bullshit my way through that because I don't feel anything about poems. It's like just kind of like dress up. It's like okay, I'll do it, and then people are like, wow, that's like awesome shit. I'm like, what? I just made that shit up. What do you mean? Right? It's meaningless to me, but it's meaningful
Yeah.
for somebody else. But
Wow, you were able to fool them.
how does that
Um,
gauge, right? Like what's more important for the artist or is it important for the for the audience? Like what's the um
yeah. Well, but poetry specifically, I find it so subjective because, like, I write poems deliberately, and sometimes they come to me, and I notice that if you just sit down, you can definitely do it deliberately. There's definitely some kind of process to it. But I don't understand it. So like, because sometimes there could be a seed, and most of the time I just start with the there's a seed phrase or beginning that kind of like that sounds like, ooh, this could I could spin this out into some kind of something, for a few paragraphs, but then I just start rhyming.
Right.
So but
Just
the
playing
whole
around
thing
with it.
does become meaningful. Like at the end, it's one coherent, cohesive piece, which you don't really plan it out. So I still don't understand how it works like that. So in that sense, there's some kind of magic to the form itself, where the form itself guides you somehow, and that's the art. It just unfolds. This is why I like doing it, because at the end of it, I was like, wow, this is like, I didn't expect this stuff to be like that. It sounds kind of cool. Um, but this is the whole crux essentially of the creative process and this art thing is, yeah, how are you doing it? How are you doing this? What is
Okay,
even this? What is
I
this whole
remember
fucking thing?
whose quote was it? It was saying, oh yeah, I think it's Alan Watts, basically saying you can't ask the genius how they do it. They
Yeah,
can't tell you. They're
they
like,
can't explain
they
it.
don't, they have no clue.
Yeah,
I just does it, right? It's just like,
it's so
I
true.
just,
You just you don't really you can't even explain what it is.
yeah. So sometimes the hard truth is that some people have talent and some people don't for a specific endeavor, right? Some people are just born with it, and it's just if they found it, if a person who can have enough self-awareness that they found, okay, I have a talent for this, that's great for that person. The earlier they can find that, the better, because their life will just be, because that's the thing, right? You want to just do whatever you're good at, because you can't be working at a thing for a long time and then you realize I'm actually no good at this, even though or you could get good at certain things, but if it doesn't have that magic for you, then there's no point for you to try that hard to do it, right? This is me finding out that, okay, I might be good at drawing, but I can't be creative with it. So therefore I gave up. I basically
I
stopped
don't
doing it
know.
because it's like,
I'm questioning that decision of yours, because I remember, I think I saw one of drawing you did, that was in pencil, I think, which is black and white. I remember how detailed and how good it looked. Like it literally looked like, well, I can't do anything like that. So I know that you have some kind of ability and talent for sure, because you're able to bring that precision at least there, and it all looks great. Like it looks impressive. But this fact that then you haven't pursued it, you haven't tried it enough, where you
mm,
sat down
that could be.
and did it to like, what do I want to draw?
Right.
Because surely you can imagine, anybody can imagine something, but if you have that actual technical ability and ability to coordinate, your hand with your eye and draw something from scratch, I would think that's the more important part, because figuring out what to draw is secondary. Like a lot of time, like I liked to draw a lot when I was younger. I would just draw abstract stuff. I would be drawing like, start drawing something small, and then I just keep weaving it. It just make like one abstract, surreal type of drawing, which it's just a creative process that unfolds. But in terms of technical ability, like how it looks, not nothing special,
Yeah.
right? The creativity isn't. Yeah, this the opposite of what you were saying. So I can, I think, envision something cool, but my technical ability to execute it is not there really.
And it also depends, right? Because some people have, some famous visual artists, like painters, whatever, their stuff are actually, it doesn't take that much technical skill to produce it, but just the
Right.
style, just the way that they
Yes.
think, the way that they kind of put it on the canvas, people are like,
Yeah.
this is cool.
Dude, there's
It's
this
not a
one.
competition of
Yeah,
who
it's
can
just
draw
their
better.
thing. That it's the thing that they figured out and they made it work. There's one contemporary painter, and he can be painting like, even like a frame from a cartoon, right? So take like, I don't know, Simpsons or something, The Simpsons. So in that sense, he's not making anything new creatively. He paints the character from Simpsons, right? But then what he does, he he kind of made a certain brushing technique where he does an oil painting or acrylic painting, but he uses a very thick layer of paint, and then he just makes streaks throughout the whole painting, in a parallel lines, and it looks so trippy. But he makes it so meticulously consistent that it looks great. It looks amazing. But the ideas for the paintings themselves is just snapshots from popular media, from like cartoons and stuff. Because everybody likes popular characters. Everybody loves Bart Simpson. They would have millions of fans. So now that's that guy's style, that just painting with streaks, but he paints all kinds of cool characters. Great, great idea, because everybody likes it. It's his personal style, and it's not complex. It's just the thing that he kind of coined, and he's able to consistently make. That's all it is. So we haven't even started watching the video.
Just this is gonna be the
Yeah,
the
it's just.
pattern where it's just like you're gonna be discussing like
I mean, it's just a
forever.
very rich topic, right? For everything that we could be discussing here. But yeah, let's see what it is about, because I think he's going to be talking about specific artists and their examples, and let's see what we can learn from those. Gets into the territory of the proper creative genius, right? Where there's definitely some kind of obsession there. Some kind of obsession is part of the equation. But these are extreme examples, because obviously making a multi-year creative project so it all comes together, yeah, that's you have to be invested essentially 100%. You're
Yeah,
putting your whole everything on the line. You're
yeah.
making it the best thing that you can possibly make, but that requires all of your attention. You forget about everything else. That becomes your sole purpose of living, just the creative process.
Which, to be honest, is not a bad place to be, right? Because if everything is all subjective, then what's the most important is your own experience of life. And if there's something that you're so absorbed, there's nothing better.
Yeah,
Even if you had to suffer through it, that suffering kind of means a lot to the person, right? It means a lot more to you because it's just that meaningful for you, and nobody else can be the judge of that, right? Like you as you experience it, you don't care about anything other than the work itself, because other way is such a hard thing to kind of parse, because how much of an artist, like how much should you care about the audience and how much should you care about your own experiences? Because there are people who attempt at making art and is just not art, right? It's like their conception of what art is just not, like, it's not accepted. Basically, it's just basically a guy decided to, oh, I'll just do a doodle doodle and I call it art, right? So
yeah.
there is a part of
It's
um
still art in the sense that it's self-expression, but yeah, this
but who's buying it, right? Who's
yeah,
actually thinking
it's
that this
still
is
it's going to be compared to all the other art that's possible, right? Because yeah, a kid can sit down and make doodles, and that's art. But in terms of the meaning, the form, the technical ability, how cohesive it looks, there are all kinds of styles. They're amazing artists. They're like artists like Banksy, right? They're making some simple graffitis that can be very uh, poignant, very impactful, etc. It's a multidimensional thing. This artistry, the creativity. It's not as simple as just, oh, I'm gonna make this. Like, how do you make a thing awesome? How do you make awesome art? This is
And I feel like all arts are social in the way that you kind of have to show it to somebody, right?
right. Yeah.
Imagine, could you really do it in a vacuum with no, like it's
Yeah.
not
Who, if it's
possible.
nobody's beholding it, right? Is that still art? Technically true, but it's only is art in relation to the human beholder, as far as we're able to to say, like, humans are the only ones who understand art. Like, it's the human thing. We Nobody else makes art, as far as we can tell, right?
Yeah.
um everybody else is too busy just surviving.
And that's the part of maybe is a part of the what is part of the human experience, but also is part of that. Maybe one could even say is an emergent property of consciousness, even because by being conscious and recognize being aware, you're like, oh wow, you see that? That's cool. You're like if you see anything, any experience, imagine if you wanted to go you go out into the wild and you found on the mountaintop like a great beautiful sunset. You're like, it's one thing to see it yourself, and then like, I want to share this experience. I'm aware of it. Are you aware of this? Are you seeing this? Right?
Yeah, it inspires you.
We have an impulse to share that, and I think art kind of perhaps evolved from that, where coming from the impulse to share our lived experiences, we get to kind of formulate it in a way that other can be translated to other people, because our own individual realities are that only us who experience it understand it in the way of you intuitively understand what you're seeing and what you're experiencing. Like, you are the one who are the observer. So you have to, if you want to, if you want to translate that experience, you will have to use some kind of medium to translate that to other people. A person who haven't seen the same thing as you, they will not understand it the way that you do, right? And you have to find a way to translate that. And obviously, art, I think, is just a way of is a beautiful way to translate that, as opposed to be saying, just you and me, let's say, you're telling me an experience and you're trying to describe it, but that's just you describing it. There's no beauty in that sort of explanation. But if you do it in a way that I think humans find that way, you know what? There's a way to say this
Yeah,
more
yeah.
elegantly by not saying it, by not
Yeah, because
directly
inspiration is
indicating it.
also kind of like multidimensional, right? This is why the art inspires art, right? If you saw like a beautiful picture, it could inspire you to make a poem, to write music about it, right? It's all, but in that sense, all art is kind of about feelings, right? It is a representation of the inner world and your interpretation of things, like what it
Of
makes
yeah,
you think about, like the meaning that you conceive of when you know see this or experience that. It's another medium for communication of complex human experiences, I think.
yeah.
It's a big
So
part of the definition for art, now that I
key
think about
is that interaction with the world out there,
it.
right? Other consciousness have to perceive it and judge it
Yeah.
and see if they agree with your sentiment, if they get what you're trying to say,
Yes.
right? Because the thing is, like, for example, any book, any novel you read, there's going to be a theme, right? Of what the book is about. And people can argue about it, but they're gonna find at the end of the day the essence of what that novel is trying to say. And the more popular that book is, the more I mean, yes, you can interpret it in many different ways. And certainly sometimes it kind of run away from the author's intention. And that's the kind of interesting part about it. It's like,
Yeah, and some of
who's
this
right?
art, yeah, you made me think about it, that some of the art can be intentionally ambiguous, or
You're right.
leave enough ambiguity to engage the viewers in the art. Like, right, viewers and their subjective perspective on it creates the art. That's, I think, the greatest art, where everybody can see something that only they can see in art. I've encountered that recently on the example of a Moby Dick book.
Oh, yeah.
I've never read it, but I was reading on enlightenment, and it just so happened the second part of the series of that book was talking excessively about the Moby Dick, which really annoyed me because I'm just not familiar with it. I never read it. There's too many books to read. I never read Moby Dick, even though I know it's a staple. It's an American classical literature essentially, but it was doing such a heavy analysis on Moby Dick that it was just essentially the author of that book prided himself to be the first and only person like to figure out what Moby Dick is actually about. He's like, I gleaned through the real intentions of the author, and this I'm sure this is exactly what it meant. But even that like made me think, like, Well, that's just an interpretation,
Yeah.
and that does seem cohesive and seems like it works. But you can do that with anything. You can be in Russian we call it is to tie something by its ears. So you pull something by its ears and you make it stick, you make it close, which is I think you can do that with anything. You can make
Yeah.
any kind of spin on anything, on anybody
And
else's art. You can
and
twist it and spin it, right?
and it's weird because I remember, okay, the one of the thing was obviously in the world of literature, I had the same experience with Tolstoy because everybody's saying Anna Karenina is like the novel to read. I'm like, what? Why is people keep saying this? Okay, I'm gonna find out. Okay, I'm gonna read that big ass book, and I end up really liked it. And I'm like, okay, why is that? Is that because
Yeah, what's
the
the good
hype,
part?
or part of it is the hype? But then it's like it does have something in it. But what is it? I can't. I to this day I can't really pinpoint. The story is just the story, and it's not like if you just kind of analyze it, the synopsis or whatever, it's like
Yeah,
this is not that interesting.
what's
Why
going
is
on?
it? Because there's a thick ass book, right? Yeah, all these characters, all these things, and you're like, yeah, why do I like this?
Maybe
What does
then
that say about
the complexity and the world building,
it's
there's so much
part
that you
of
can
it, but
appreciate in
that's
art.
part of it, but also just maybe just the way he used the word. Yes, I read
Description,
the
right? The
yes, I
descriptive
read
language.
the English one, which they had to translate. But the fact that I'm amazed, the fact that they can actually translate it and you
Hmm.
get the meaning
Yeah,
is amazing. Because I'm sure if you read the original Russian, like that's a whole level, another
it will be
level,
different.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
It will be different, right? But if I'm impressed with the English translation, you will
Yeah, that
be
means that there's
if you
something
read
at
the
the core of
original.
it
Right. So, but
that
you see, these
translates
people
too.
put the effort into translating exactly what the author intends. They had to find the
Right.
right word
Yeah,
for it
because that's a
because
whole
some of it
separate
might not,
form of art.
because it might not translate directly because there are
Yeah,
be
most
concept
of
you
the time it
can't,
doesn't.
right? So, but to be able to do that as an art in itself as well, to be able to translate it exactly what the author intend with the word, with the meaning. Um, but yeah, that's something like that. Like I cannot put my finger on it. I really like that book, and I see why people will say it's the best novel. It could be that's a hyperbole, but like it's one of the best novel out there, and I can see how. But then I can't pinpoint why. Why is it? Why is it the case? Why is it the It's not like it's hard to compare because of his work. I can see how Fyodor was more. Is that how he says his name? I always trip up on his name. Or Eski?
Dostoevsky?
Yeah, yes. I
Dostoevsky, yeah.
always can't nail his last name. But I can see that one because that kind of catered to me. I like the dark stuff that he writes, and it kind of like, okay, this is cool. But
Yeah, his stuff is
Toy
messed
Story
up.
is hard to, yeah, it's the messed up part. I'm like, okay, this is cool because I just cater to me, right? But that's the part of the art, right? Like you don't know, like yes, some of it are more like, okay, that person have experienced trauma
Yeah,
in their
with
life, and
those
that
artists,
translates
like
directly.
they're considered essentially spiritual. Like they dug some like
Right.
so deep into the human soul, into aspects of it, that they literally figured something out, and they were able to describe it, like put it down on paper and demonstrate it. It's like this is the depth of human experience, human psychology, and what people can be going through, how they can be thinking, interpreting, making decisions. It's a whole multidimensional
Yeah.
depiction of reality. But to do it so well, to such a degree, like what kind of
That's
mind
just,
do you have to have? Like you have to know about just human conditions so much that
yeah.
you're like, yep, everybody agrees. Like, yep, this is how much bullshit can be
And,
like that
and
there.
then it's not even a strictly agreement too, because some people can be like, because that's the interpretation part of it, right? Where it can get so complex, like, well, you could be right, this is the interpretation, but it could be in a whole another subsect of
Well, with
interpreting
creative
it differently.
process, especially with writing like that, this is where I don't know how much of it has to be, how believable it has to be, because you can paint any kind of world and scenario, but surely there is some kind of aspect of believability to all
Yeah,
of it too, right? Because yeah, you can read something that's written by somebody, and it just doesn't come together because you can see that it's like
Doesn't make
it's
sense.
in yeah it's doesn't make sense. It's just too arbitrary. Like there's no cohesion. So that I don't even know what that faculty is. Some kind of world building where everything, it's like a causal chain is so intact and so visible there, that but you're so aware of it that you're able to bring it into every bit of your writing, or
Yeah.
scene building, or scenarios. It's I don't even know what that is. It's
It's like internally consistent, right?
right. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah.
idea that it doesn't matter if you write sci-fi or it's like a historical novel, like everything has to make sense in its own setting. So there has to be logic applied in terms of what, because this will be what naturally happens in a situation like if you give this sort of um, input, this is the kind of output that happens, right? So if you write historical novel, you're gonna have to consider the historical nature to what the time period you're writing, how people think at that time, and you have that how all has to be accurate for it to read like a like the period, right? So that's that. And then if you do sci-fi, well, it still has to it still has to be internally consistent so that the decision being made in the story will make sense to you as a reader, even though the setting is different, but so at the fundamentally, it all has to have this internal consistency, whether that's novels, whether is a song. Even a song has to make kind of a point, right? Like what's the kind of overarching, because there's a structure from beginning, middle, and end.
Right,
How you are kind of playing around with the graph essentially. Like in a song, okay, you're gonna have a build up to what kind of emotion do you want
right.
the listener to experience, right?
Yeah, this is a very interesting confluence of both meaning and emotion in songs where there's a synergy that has to be going on, because the message, yeah, the message, the medium, it all has to be consistent. So you can't be like feeling an aggressive emotion while you're singing about sunset or something. Like it just does, it won't make sense. It will be just, it will be like shock art, I guess. It's some kind of
Right. Or
separate
for
category
like
of art, where it's
comedic
just where you,
sort
yeah,
of,
you're going for some
yeah,
kind of incongruence, right? But generally, you'd want to sync up the meaning, the feeling, the energy of the music. It's all will be cohesive because you can, when you build it up like that, when you sync it like that, it becomes very powerful. You do feel it, when there's a specific build up in a song, and it builds up to a chorus, which is like a punchy message too, like a punchy chorus plus powerful music. It's very driving. It's very engaging. It like makes you feel it, like the whole core of the both intention and emotion and everything that went into a song. That's why some songs, they're like they're like little capsules for a certain emotion that you can access every time to listen to them.
yeah. And I think you touched on a point that's very important as well as so, uh, uh, the point is the one that you said about the multidimensionality of this, the complexity of that kind of like, I feel that as I currently working on my story, on my novel, is that there is a world in there where you're gonna have to make sure everything is consistent with the setup that you're going for. Because if you say this is a certain kind of world, if the society in this story have a certain point of view, like a
Hmm.
certain kind of world view, then that has to be consistent with all the people who live in it and the problem that they are experiencing and having, right? Because you're making up the scenario by which this is a thing, and then people had to the fictional character had to deal with the set problem. So what's the extension of what does that mean? Just like we can't even figure out the economic situation in our own real world. It's too complex, right? It's too complex. You have people who study economics for their whole life trying to figure out, okay, why is this thing does this thing and why does that happen? And so it's very it takes a lot of skill to do that fictionally and make it so believable that
Yeah, you
people be
just
like,
have
oh, this is like
to.
real. This is almost like real.
It's it's like you have to keep it all in your mind too. Like you have to be so. You
Yeah.
have to keep it in your short-term memory. You have to be completely embroiled in it, in that world yourself, which means you have to stay in there.
it
for
happens to me
a
because
long
as I
time.
write the story, I'm like, sometimes it's like it's as if I have witnessed within that world because it's like a
Yeah, because
dream.
you spend a
It's
lot of
almost
time
like
there.
I'm
Yeah.
running around and yeah, it's okay. The character did that and that's their world. And then sometimes, as in the process of writing, it's like, wait, this part is a mistake. That doesn't make sense because this character wouldn't do that because that's just me in my kind of
Right.
real world experience. That's not going to happen with them. They're not going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
think
yeah.
that way or stuff like that, right? We're like, it's in a way sometimes it's a headache. It's like, oh my God, there's so much facts I have to get right, but it's all
Yeah, yeah.
fictional.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, yeah, but it has to be consistent. And it's like, oh my God, is that what the character will say in that
Yeah.
situation? Is this what he or she
You have to think
would
through everything.
right? And to make sense, and like all the little detail, especially the stuff that's not said,
Hmm.
how the character feels, what they're not saying with
Yeah,
the you know,
I think that was my biggest part. Like, I think I tried writing fiction just a couple times, just as an experiment, as an exercise. Did not work at all for me. It just I don't know how that process works. Like, I immediately just start making it autobiographical. It's just
right?
it's like because you're just a human. That's all you have access
That's
to
all
your
you
own
have.
your own
But you have to
personality and everything.
imagine. But you have to imagine what other
How?
people's life are
How are you
like.
gonna do that? I'm just gonna imagine myself every time, every single time. I'm just gonna imagine myself. So it was funny that I mean, to an extent, I believe that all writing is autobiographical like that
Yes,
because
that's
it's
true.
essentially it's inescapable. But then
Yeah.
I don't know how you make it so rich and so varied that it is end up being good writing. Because I wouldn't be able to do it. Like every time I tried it, it just you start. I'm too literal. I think I start explaining things like in too literal of a like this is what it is, this is what happened,
Right.
and that's not
Yeah.
literary. Like that's not
Right.
poetic enough. I can
Because
do
I think
poems, but they're a much shorter form where you can
yeah, I think it's
wrap it
just
up
different
quicker.
arts is, obviously I think there's to a large degree, all arts has this sort of ambiguity to them, which is part of its strength. Because you're not supposed to say the thing that you want to say in that way
Right.
so
Yeah.
directly. It's supposed to go around it, right? It's like a song. Like, okay, I'm sad. I'm not telling you I'm sad. I'm saying it through like the music, the lyrics, through playing that
Yeah.
kind of rhythm where it kind of
So
invoke
it
the
okay
sadness.
then art is a way of making other people feel what you feel, right?
Yeah, in a
To
way
to
that
to
they
to, to
can.
convey an experience, a feeling, an emotion, because of
That's
that's
more.
all it is. That's all art is, right? You
Yeah,
will have some kind of response to it. You can
emotional
evaluate it on
response.
multiple levels, on an
It's
intellectual level, but if you really engage with a piece of art and like really go deep into it, like meditation style, like because you can meditate on art.
yeah,
Well, it's a whole different way of engaging with it because obviously, I mean, there's deep art and there's not so deep art. But if there was a piece of art that an artist, what it meant really a lot to an artist, that in itself, for me, enough to understand that there is something profound and deep at the core of this art. And if I don't see it, it's my problem, you know? But obviously, you don't know what art means what to
yeah.
which artist unless
Or
you
how to
literally
gauge it.
talk to people, engage it. So a lot of art is subjective where like you look at it and then but then it's still true that you only get out of art like as much as you are able to put in your attention into it, because yeah, it comes back to me to the quality of attention because you can listen to a piece of music, in the background. That's not going to be the same. If you just sit down there, listen to every lyric, try to comprehend what it's all about, try to like think about it, deliberate on it. Uh, yeah, it actually makes me think that even my own consumption of art should be much more
It's
deliberate
it's
than
so hard to gauge because especially look, I went through art school. I went through 4 years of art school, and my conclusion was it's all bullshit. Okay, the art that's being produced contemporarily is just all like again that might be a
but
hyperbolic
what
way to
what
say
would
it, but
make it not bullshit? Like what is your assessment is
the
based
problem
on?
is I don't know. It was with some modern art, like there's that. I guess now is even famous example. Was some artists were just taping a banana with a duct tape, and that was it. look, I get the conceptual part of it. Is like you can say it's prerogative, is sort of
Yeah,
stating something. But the
but
thing is, I went through 4 years of art school, and all they teach you is just how to bullshit. Basically, how do you come up with something that's like you can't even explain it? There's no. That's the problem with modern art is that whatever the artists say it is, it it is. But then what about the viewers? Like, what if I don't like it? Does that mean I'm invalid, or is this art invalid? It's
yeah,
so
that's the tricky
blurry
part is
now.
that a lot of art that you can look at it. Yeah, this is where it's tricky because somebody could even spend a lot of time, and they can be very, they have actual skills and stuff, but still, some people will just not like it. They would be like, nah, it does nothing for me. That's still the strange part that it's almost like you have your audience and you have your people who can resonate and
Yeah,
see your
I
art,
I think
but
that's part of it because think about it, right? For example, not all people like black metal, but
mm,
black metal is an art form,
yep,
right? Like you don't have to like it to understand the artistry, right? It's like enough people agree to it that okay, they have consistency within this
as a
subgenre that
specific form, yeah,
it's a specific form. You can't say that it's not art, right? It is. It's just you don't like it. As a person, you might not like it,
yeah.
right? So how do you distinguish that? So there is a form to it, right? So there's like even though there's not like an exact form, but there has to be a
It's
framework
pretty
and
funny.
structure.
The black metal is a good example of it because there are also subtypes of black metal, of course.
Yeah,
There
and
is raw black metal. There could be atmospheric black metal,
yeah,
and there's little
all kinds.
subgenres,
Yeah,
essentially all the way down to where it's just pure noise, where
noise.
you
Yeah,
hear
noise
like pure,
metal. Yeah,
and that's still a genre.
yeah. And some people are like,
It's
oh
still
yeah,
and people,
oh yeah,
and they go to
that's right.
concerts and they're just like they are just that's the thing. But that I it is an art in the sense that okay, that is a thing you can do, and it is
Right,
that different, and it's that counter, counter mainstream that
right.
even for its own ironic sake, you could be into it. But that's where it, to me, it throws even a bigger wrench in the whole concept of art because
Yeah, was
then I don't know what art is at that
how do you
point.
gauge it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's almost impossible to gauge. It's like if I'm the only one who likes a piece of art, I just say for sake of argument, does that is that art then, or
Yeah.
do you have to take two, or does it take two-person to agree that this is art?
It's. I think that self-expression part that has to that what makes it into art. You decided to become creative and created something. That's art already, and then everything else is just a judgment of if a lot of people are like it, it's popular, successful art. If one or two people like it, nobody. Yeah, it's
So
underground.
basically, for all creators, I think especially in this modern day and age where it's so democratized in a way with broadcasting things like the way that you can do it now like we're writing you can do self publishing, right? There are avenues for with things like if you do writing there's Substack, there's YouTube, there's all these mediums by which you can advertise
Yeah,
yourself as an artist. I think is the greatest period for people to
for
make art
artistry
because
for sure.
now you can find out for
More
yourself.
tools
You
than
don't have
ever.
to, yeah, you don't have to go through the whole, if you're a writer, you don't have to go through a publisher. You don't have to go through if you're a painter, you don't have to go through a gallery.
But it
You don't have
still
to,
comes down to whether
how
you
good is
have it,
how good
whether you
is your
have the
stuff?
thing. Yeah.
Do you have the skill? Do you have the talent? Do you have the, because now everybody can do it. There's the, the cost of doing it is so much lower now than before, right? The entry, the difficult, the
Entry,
entry
yeah, the
point,
barrier to entry.
barrier to entry is so low now. There's no excuse to not, if you want to do it, then you can find out whether how good you are, right? Or like, is this actually something that people can actually say, okay,
Yeah.
there's some there are some artistic merit in this endeavor, and people support you in that, right? You gotta you can find out now. Not like before, you're like, oh, I had to go through a certain avenue, and that's the only avenue to do it, and it costs a lot to do that. And sometimes people might give that up because they couldn't afford to do that, right? Now you can do it for a fraction of the cost, really. So I think that part is a good thing to be an artist these days. But it also means, I don't know, there's so many ways for people to do their arts now. It's also kind of hard to find engagement as well, I suppose, because really depending on how well received it is, right? Because especially if you want to be able to sustain your art, because that means that you do have to have some kind of earnings from your art for you to keep yourself
Yeah,
going.
yeah. Like to me, like I think I like the stand-up comedy route so much because it's the perfect art. Because
It's
if you can figure it
right.
out and you can be funny, that's
Yeah.
legitimately something that, like, if you do discover it, it means you have it. You have some kind
Right.
of something to both see funny and present funny. Uh, but what I'm curious about is that how universal is that skill? Is that as universal? Because humor is pretty universal, to human experience, to
It's
communication, to
also very
everything,
subjective
but
too,
it's
right?
very
All kinds of style,
subjective. Yeah. Um,
they're all funny. So it's like, how
yeah,
they try to
like
figure out what makes humor work.
humor is
It's
both an art and it's just like a mystery because I still don't know what humor is in terms of,
define funny, right?
yeah, what is
Define funny. What
funny,
is funny?
what
Why
makes
is it
things
funny?
funny, what is laughter. Yeah, it's weird.
Because I feel like, okay, the thing is, sometimes some things cannot be defined with words, I suppose. You can't really define it in a way that's kind of so overarching and definitive that it's exactly describe what things are. I think that's the part of that whole.
Some of the meaning, I think, the tricky part about the meaning is that with art forms like, actually maybe with a lot of art, is that it creates meaning. So art is almost like either a lens or the whole reality, where it literally shows you this is what it is, but in saying this is what it is, that's how we create meaning. You're literally saying this is what it is. You're defining it. That's what meaning is. You're assigning description to reality, to what it means, to internal logic, to why this happens, right? Why this feels that way. It's all about some kind of connection. It's connecting the poignant, the important bits. Um, but that ability to showcase these connections and to really display them. What is that?
I think part of
It
the
requires some kind of closeness with reality where, you're both feeling it and you're able to like maintain it and keep it like, okay, I saw it. It's like this. And now you need to capture it and you need to depict it.
yeah.
But that's some kind of engagement with just imagination, really pure imagination, because all of that engagement happens in your imagination. Whatever captured, whatever inspiration you had, it triggered something in your imagination. It's I'm just seeing it at it from my own experience. It's kind of like this, something that just kind of triggers you. It's like, there's something there, and it just you want to like put a spotlight on it. It's like, ooh, look at this. This is like this, and it's important. But that's all it is. I think that's all really art is. It's like, oh, look at this. This is important.
So it feels like there's fundamentally there's no difference between, say, if you're a scientist trying to find out the truth about the
Right.
universe
It's still
versus
some kind
art.
of
It's the same kind of
passion at the core of
process
it.
of you're trying to find out what that was actually kind of because the thing is, it's like,
What's the
why are we
interesting
doing
thing?
all these art? Why are we doing all this stuff like this? It just
Right.
means that there's something to be found. Like, we feel like we can't, there's a thing we can't grasp, but we know that it exists. That if always are trying to attempt to put to word or put to message what that thing is that we feel. And I think that art is a way for us to do that, because you can't use fact alone to explain everything, right? So I think both science and art does have the same kind of framework by which it's trying to find out about the truth of the matter, but in different ways, right? With different methodologies and different, So the arts are more try to find out about
Art are
these
more
things that are not
much more about just the subjective world, right? Experience of the
right.
reality, subjective experience of reality, and science is more about the actual physical shape and form. It's almost like I would say both are kind of a way to appreciate reality, both science and art,
Yeah.
right? But science, there's something that's very like pedantic about it, where it's like it's just obsessed with breaking everything down into components and analyzing what's going on.
But that's all very important too, right? To
Yeah.
understand the fundamental truth to, okay, why is the way that the world is the way it is, right? So that's very much
But I mean, this is where we'll never finish watching this video, but
it's not gonna happen,
but
bro.
this is the fun part where it's like it triggers you to think about a lot of these, just a lot of mysterious stuff that we constantly revisit on this channel. Is that when science is looking into what you just described, into like the building blocks and how it all works, what does that tell you about a thing like imagination and subjective experience and art? What does science tell you about it? Nothing.
Or it's trying to, but it
But
couldn't,
what? It
you know?
it it hasn't even it in your awareness, what does science has to do with art and
Because okay,
creativity
the
in
other
terms
part
of figuring out its nature?
the other problem is that, okay, so the scientific method can find out about these phenomenons and physical realities, but I think I was watching some video. They were discussing the idea of what's real, and one way to put it is like, well, you can't convince me that the chair I'm sitting on is not real. As far as I'm concerned, it's real enough. So the way that the brain and the mind interpret things is that there's a way it does the interpretation where it's kind of it does it in a practical manner. So it's like, I think they were discussing about free will. Like, it's almost like, okay, you can't convince the mind that free will doesn't exist, even though you could make the argument that, okay, free will doesn't exist and there's all predetermined, all
Hmm.
the previous event that determine everything. Yes, you can say that as a theory, but in terms of my feeling of it, a person's way that they feel, it's almost like free will has to be has to work for the
Well,
mind to interpret.
we've done episodes on this. Just because something feels something or looks like something, it has nothing to do with reality, right?
Right,
So
but
this is veering into a
the way that the brain kind of interprets it is almost like it has its own kind of um, definitions for it to work. So that might be going counter to what someone, some theory about the nature of reality. There's one way that the body interprets it, and another to
uh it's all kind of connected, right? It's not, one is not divorced from another. Uh, because for example, if science says that the brain that is able to do science and perform science is comprised of, and science says what it all comprised of, right? Like these molecules, this is how it works. But now I guess, well, we still all go back to the fact that we don't know what consciousness is. It still goes
the
back
hard
to that.
the
It's
hard problem of consciousness. Yep,
it's still
that's the
like no
one that
matter how
everybody
much we
hits at
lead
the
into it, yeah, we still don't know exactly what the science cannot say how from everything that we see in the physical world emerges, whoop, 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 you have consciousness and subjective experience, and what is the mechanism. We still go back to that in our attempts to even talk about what art is,
But
the
you see the
boundary between
problem here. You
imagination and
see the problem here.
interpretation.
We're trying to talk about art, and then we start
Go
involving
back.
the upper level kind of problems, and then you hit that wall. Be like, okay,
Yeah.
well, it all comes down to consciousness, but then you can't explain consciousness, so therefore it's all not to say this is not to say that is a moot point, but it's just that it will be under that framework, right? Because like we assume, okay, the assumption is we have consciousness, this is what we get, and then art underneath that is a way to interpret these subjective experiences,
Hmm. Hmm.
how it, I suppose, is a mind's way of trying to explain it in a way that's, I don't know, like we have emotions, and I think people are much more receptive and wanting to feel emotions than say pure logic and pure just like explaining everything,
But
right?
even that is, different people, different strokes for different folks. There are logical
Right.
people who like doing
Yeah,
math, and that's it.
right.
And there are feeling people
Exactly.
who like emotions and being talking to other emotional people. It's to me that's just an example of there's infinite amount of realities, as many people as there are. That's why, because we can't tell, we don't know who experiences what. That still is the biggest uh, argument to the mysteriousness of just reality, because we know we all live in our own separate little subjective realities, but we're still sharing a common physical one
Yeah.
that obviously has some kind of common rules.
So,
So
sometimes if I think about it, it's really eerie and also
it is
just mind-blowing the fact that my friend here can experience a whole separate life out there, and I'm experiencing my
right.
kind of life, and then we can discuss
We
this.
can
We
talk
can
about it.
talk
Yeah.
about it. We can discuss what we think. Oh, did you see that? Or oh, did you realize that this is a thing? Right? It's like we're all kind of, it's so weird to think that, oh yeah, we're just these kind of observers and sensors, and we're detecting all these
Yes.
phenomenons, and then we're actually talking to each other about, hey, did you see this?
Hmm.
So like, as we're talking about art, that's kind of what we're doing. Art is part of that. Like, hey, I have this experience.
Right.
I don't know how to explain it to you, but I'm gonna use this way called art
Yeah.
to explain it to you. And do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I feel, but I have no words for it. But you find a way to say it in that way, where you found a way to express
Yeah, so it is about depicting some kind of commonality of
common
experience,
experience.
uh,
That's,
relatability, right? It's ability to
yeah,
make it relatable. If you make art relatable, then it's successful. I think that's a fair thing to say. This is
yeah.
how you make
Just
art
the
good. You make it
degrees
relatable.
of relatable, right? Because you also don't want it to just be like talking about some, I don't know,
But then there's all kinds of human experience out there. Like this is at the other end of it. This is why such authors like Dostoevsky, and the other was like they pushed a lot of things to extreme. Like they painted the depths of certain emotions and worlds and situations. So even that, like, how is that relatable? No. Like, is it's not relatable to describe a
but
life of a killer, and then
yeah,
you depict it so vivid that it's like looks real, but nobody is able to relate to that. It's more like of a fascination of like, wow, that could be a thing. So
but
it's
some of these
not
authors
just
though,
relatable.
they had experienced stuff that other people have not, right? Because I
Right.
think in the case of Fyodor's, why can't I say his name?
Dostoevsky.
Fyodor Yevsky? Oh my God, that's always mess that
Dostoevsky.
up. Yeah, he actually was almost executed. So he had that kind was put in front of a firing squad, and then at the last moment he was, let go. So I think that, as far as I read his biography, that's a huge like change for him, right? And that kind of changed the way he see about life and about everything else. And that's the part of the reason why he's able to write the stuff that he writes. It's just like he sees the fundamental reality of what's happening then, and he's able to use the story to translate it in a way that people would be like, yeah, this is kind of what's going on. This is like, in a way, you're describing what the government does not want you to talk about, or what the people in power don't want you to speak about. But he's able to kind of translate that into what life means in that sense. So yeah, it can be that maybe it's not relatable for the person who's reading it, because not everybody has that experience. This is why it fascinates people to read stuff that former soldier or veteran writes. It's like their experiences are so extreme
Yeah.
that nobody other than the people who actually went through that can can actually
Yeah,
relate.
they tell about that side of reality because they literally seen it firsthand.
So humans are part of us are curious, right? So that is part of what we is just. I just think that overall, it's just about the sharing of experiences in general. Either it's something you haven't experienced and you want to know what that feels like. It's the same as if you read a nonfiction book, you want to find out about the way of the world or why it works the way it does, right? And these people are trying to explain it in a consistent way, how their theories and ideas and why it works this way, or why in their studies
Mm,
it came out this way. In the
this is
same way that
where
the art does.
let's try and bring it back to the topic of the video by kind of
Yeah.
sticking to the part where this the sacrifice there's some kind of sacrifice, that we talked about a little bit, but in those biggest examples that I think were referenced in the video, like Michelangelo, when he was painting the ceiling, he talked about how the price of it, like yeah, it's a great piece of art, etc. There's legacy, but you don't know that when you're making that art, and you spend 4 years of your life, like physically painting it, like in a unnatural angles with the paint
Yeah.
dripping into your eyes and stuff. Like it's hazardous. It sucks. It literally sucks. And then he was doing it because he was commissioned. He did not even his motivation was not really there. Almost like it wasn't his a project that he wanted to do for his audience for his reasons, but it turned out to be an incredible work of art that is just such legacy that is, unparalleled. So, what does that say about what you are as an artist, and how much of it is your art versus not your art?
And well, also the most
How much you owe yourself to it?
and to this point, the story of Van Gogh, right? He never, almost never made a cent while he was alive making his art. And it was only through, I think it was his sister-in-law, I think, who, after his death, preserved all of his work and was kind of talking to anybody in the art circle. She was his kind of publisher almost, but after death, like she actually promoted his art even after he died because she sees the artistry within his art, right? It's like this is something great, and she want to preserve it, right? And so she's been doing this even after he died. Like it wouldn't have made any sense to even do it really financially, right? You actually spend all the time and effort, and but it was through that Van Gogh's art actually became famous. He wasn't famous while he was alive, but people appreciated the artistry after it was kind of introduced to people why it matters, right?
Right.
Because of also this is part of it. It is so hard to kind of put it in the right context because the fact his art did get famous, part of it was because of the marketing, essentially, because his life story really tied into the art itself, because how much he suffered
Yeah,
for
it
it.
creates
It creates the art
the
in
meaning
itself,
for art. Yeah,
the
yeah.
meaning for it. But that was only after he died. So him as the artist, he didn't get nothing for it. He literally his entire life, he didn't get anything for it. No recognition, no nothing. He
So
died
I
in
think,
poverty
but that's kind of what it looks like, is that you you just live for
for
art,
the art.
and that's the only
And that's
thing.
it.
But everything else doesn't matter really.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get rich,
Yeah,
if you don't make any money. It's just like
yeah,
you kind of have to believe that what you're doing
yeah.
is actually so like it has to be so fundamental to the person to you that
Yes.
you kind of just do it
You
just
just
because it's like
I can kind of relate to that, where you essentially that's the most meaningful thing to you,
to you,
and that's it.
and
That's I
that's it.
think that's the
Whether you get
that's the
recognition or
end.
not,
That's it. Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
I do think that's
Because see,
how it should be.
the problem with live authors or live artists is that inevitably, if they do get any sort of recognition, they always have to deal with the problem of that fame. Is
Yeah, it
how
gets to
much
you.
money am
It
I gonna
creates a
get?
feedback loop. It
What
it
does that,
warps the whole process. Yeah,
yeah, what does that kind of feed into your whole creation process? Imagine if you're never gonna get rich from this, would you still do it?
right,
Right? The amount of kind of conviction that you must have versus when money comes in, you're like, should I change it then? Because the outside pressure is coming in. It's like they want, because all these other elements at work is coming in trying to change you,
right,
trying to
right, right.
change you as an artist for their benefit, for making more money
Yeah, you're
because
not
of
you're not separate from all of it. It's gonna be it's like the currents. Like you're gonna have to deal with these currents. They're gonna be influencing you. They're gonna be impacting you, and in this process, it's very difficult to essentially not lose yourself, right? To even retain that
yeah,
core of what, if anything, that made you successful. The mastery will be in understanding what it is and in
yeah,
keeping that.
yeah. Which
Because
oftentimes,
if you lose it and if it gets, if it changes, if you like lose that ability to almost like it's like a seed or something, I don't know how to explain it. But if you can lose that spark, essentially, that thing
it's
that
what happened.
makes it work, you can lose it.
I
I
think
do
it's
believe
what
that.
happened to, for example, in the most current uh, timeline. One example is George R. R. Martin, who wrote the Game of Thrones, the
Yeah.
book. He still the last book, the sixth book, he still couldn't finish it, and I think he's essentially saying he couldn't finish it. So, like I'm
So you just
not,
gave up?
I'm not in that circle. I don't know.
Right, right.
I haven't read the book. I only seen the TV show. But but I read that that's essentially what's happening is that he rolled himself into a corner that is so, like he couldn't get out of it. It's
He
like,
doesn't know how to finish it well.
yeah. So that's the thing. Like he did not, perhaps did not have the whole. I mean, I don't know. This is the hard part. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's because it's hard. That maybe he found himself in a way where it's like, okay, I created the world, but how do I
Not,
end
yeah,
this?
now what? Now
How
what?
do
Where
I,
is it going? What do I want it
right?
to
So
be?
that kind of come to the important part for an artist is also, can, if you can start, but can you finish it as well, right? The idea that is your world consistent, is your story, is your art consistent in a
Well,
way that,
this is where is like part of it, part of the art, pursuit of art is exploration, right? But with the longer forms, with the bigger forms like that, where eventually you get to deliberate, like, okay, what is this
the
turning to
actual,
be? And what do I want it to be? This is where it gets tricky because what? What are your options? Your options are every cliche that's been invented before you, or true art and true creativity and make something else, make something new. But that's so difficult. Making something truly new, which can like surprise people, which can be like, ooh, I've never heard about this stuff before. That's difficult. Because what? How many tropes are there in all of the, in all of the everything that we've been creating
yeah,
for thousands of years? It's all the same
exactly,
tropes,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
all the same human emotions and scenarios and and same culprits. So, but still, somehow there's enough, you know, enough of a canvas to be painting forever because apparently there's no end to permutations of
Because,
all the forms. It
yeah,
never seems to end.
it, everything changed. The time changed, the period changed, the
Yes,
technology
all
changed,
the
all the
setting
way in
stage.
which, yeah, all the way in which you live your life changes. So
Yeah,
what you can talk about, or what kind of art you make 50 years ago is not the same
yeah, it's
as now.
hilarious. Like with the technology advances, so many movies like stop working when when technology comes out, right? Because
Yeah.
there are movies before technology comes out, and it's like, well, now that whole plot is eliminated because we have cell phones, stuff like this. So it's true that the change of times creates all these extra dimensions and all settings with which
Yeah.
to engage.
And now with the whole AI thing, that's a whole nother thing now, right? Or a whole another future
Yeah, now
scenarios.
now the
And
limitations are there's no limitations. It's just like Complete wild, wild
Yeah.
west. You can do
I
anything you
mean,
want.
you have the whole uh Black Mirror, the whole franchise, right, is able
Yeah.
to start because of technology, because of people start thinking, oh, what about the negative aspect when we introduce
I'm
these things?
surprised with how many ideas they got out of the Black Mirror show. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was crazy.
And you can see how that there's no end to it. It's like a Rick and Morty universe, essentially. Like
Yeah.
would reach the same level because there can be recursions, there can be, worlds within worlds, and it gets so trippy so quick that this is why, I mean, to this day I can't tell. That's my personal conspiracy theory that Rick and Morty do use AI in their writing,
Uh,
because some of the episodes that I watched, I was like, there's no way the human could not conceive of this plot, of this mechanism. It's too convoluted.
well,
Like my senses were telling me, like, no, 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 that's not human. That's my
well,
conspiracy theory.
that's yeah, true enough, but sometimes there are some amazing creators, like they can actually do all this sort of
I mean, that's
almost mental
genius. That's
gymnastic. Yeah,
genius at that point.
it's,
Yeah.
it's crazy. 'Cause I remember, okay, this case is kind of esoteric, but I remember there's a Chinese book theory series. Somebody was just writing online, this author, and he created this whole kind of a tomb raiding sort of subgenre, and it's very creative. And the guy, the way he uses the language, it has a lot of like cultural elements, a lot of like folklore stuff, and he wrote it. That was before AI or whatever. So he definitely wrote it, right? He definitely wrote every single word of it. And it became a huge kind of sensation in China because everybody was like, oh, the artistry is just there. The guy's knowledge about folk art and the folklores and the everything involved around kind of tomb raiding, because this is a thing, right? In China, there's so many thousands of years of all different emperors. Yeah, of course you have people wanting to take the treasure from the tomb and all that. So it was a whole like was very creative. I remember I was listening on the audiobook and I was like amazed, like, oh wow, he's able to get that creative about get into all this supernatural whatever. It's a fun story, but he created that, meaning that he has to have enough knowledge about everything to kind of
Yes.
write it in a way in which it's authentic to the lingos, the
Yeah,
whatever
which
else. I'm
depicts
like,
an actual reality.
I'm trying to consider it. If I write this, I wouldn't be able to because I don't have the knowledge base to do it,
You have
right?
to,
Like,
yeah, to literally study, right? To make the research and then, like, okay, what is this world? What happened? What existed? You do have to, for sure, become a student of the subject of the art, in a sense, for sure. Like, because the more you know about it, in various ways and forms, the better you'd be able to depict it.
yeah, and that's part of the challenge because you, like I said before, you have to make it internally consistent, and that's
Yeah.
the job
There's
to,
like there's a bit commitment in this process of art where it is definitely an exploration, because first of all, you yourself are looking for some kind of, well, what is it that inspires you? What is it that even comes to mind, and what wants, because like to me these days, because I'm trying to kind of put myself on a schedule, like I do want to have some kind of output essentially. But even that seems to be almost like counterintuitive, because ideally the inspiration naturally comes to you, and then
from.
you're just like, yeah, you get it. But that's like my favorite way, when it happens like that. But I don't know when it happens like that. I don't know. So that I'm trying to like make myself show up and to see, okay, what can I make? And it is a process itself, but it seems to be so like random, because say that's your job and every day you wake up and do art. Well, that's just whatever comes to your mind.
Yeah.
But what comes to your mind? It goes back to the fact that thoughts
Yeah, so that
come
part
to your
to me
mind.
is I'm having a hard time as well because there was a time I was trying to do like a really really short story every day. I was trying it, and for a while I was able to do it, but eventually it got boring. It got nothing comes to mind because I basically use all the creative juice because I'm doing it every single day trying to come up with something, and
Right.
eventually it just became circular logic, right? Or
Yeah.
it
So you're
stopped
you're
do
you're,
it
like,
stopped being
you're just doing the form, but there's nothing
for the
to
sake of it.
spark it, to drive it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you do it like that, then it's not gonna work. So it is kind of really tricky, right? Like how
Yes.
you want it to be able to do the output, but sometimes over capacity does happen. Like you just use all of your, this is why, writers go out for a walk or they do a whole thing
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with a daily kind of
Uh,
activity that's not
uh,
writing for them to
yes. There's a certain trust in that process too that you have to develop, and this is where I really need to get better with this because I am overdoing it in the sense of like trying to be
trying to
very too intentional with it and to
shoot.
like,
Yeah,
all right, let's do it. And it's so weird, but because but that's what I want though. I do want to
yeah,
make cool art, but it's almost like happiness. You can't chase it directly. You have
yeah.
to like just trust the process and almost like not do art, not do it deliberately. Just let it
That's
come to you. But
yeah.
what the hell is that? This is a physical world with physical limitations and processes, and you do want some kind of reliability in that whole process.
Yeah,
You can't just
that's
be like out and about hoping that genius ideas come to you, right? There still has to be some kind of method to the madness. But every time I try to identify it, I can't.
I think practically though, if for processes like this, it's just that you have to have more experiences essentially.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think if you do something consistently, which is good as a habit, but sometimes that kind of it does restrict creativity because you're experiencing the same thing every single day. There's no
Right.
change. There's no
Yes.
new input. I think the brain is very good at like coming. This is what happens if I read a lot of novels. I even tend to have more dreams because I'm like somehow the brain is trying to kind of uh, reformulate what you experience mentally, right?
Right,
So
right.
some
It all
ideas
feeds
are
into, yeah.
basically from reading, from experiencing some kind of art in
Yeah,
itself to
yeah,
inspire you. Oh, you know what? That's a cool idea. Maybe what if I do it this way or that
exactly.
way, or. So it has to do a lot with input as well. So not just not just art. I think should be everything, like from reading about what's happening to,
For
some
sure.
kind of
Yeah.
information that's new. Could be current, could be history, could be whatever, right? Scientific or otherwise. But that kind of input, I think, is important so that your brain can process the information and maybe something like a new connection comes up because you're trying to
Yes, yeah.
reformulate.
That's a big part of it, especially about these new connections. And essentially, yeah, the routines, like they're both a necessary and a curse. Like this is where it's weird. Like you have to be aware enough of a pattern that you know when to interrupt it, but you can't just live without patterns and without
That's
routines,
the
just in
but
pure
but
chaos too, right? This is the
but
paradox.
but that's the zen of it, right? The zen, if you achieve it, is to know when to stop
Yeah,
and
yeah,
when to
yeah, yeah,
start.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
basically that's the whole art of it, and that's
yeah.
basically it's almost impossible to achieve. But hey, it's if you
Which
can
reminds me,
achieve
dude,
some kind of awareness.
I need to go downtown and just sit around and something. I need to change things up a little bit because
Yeah,
I've been stuck in this
'cause
process of like, okay, just sit down and just work on the computer, but that's
no,
not inspiring. You really
yeah,
need
you
to
need inputs. You
sometimes
need to.
decompress, change your perspective, change of environment, change of activity, and also just let it breathe. This is the letting it breathe stuff that I've been neglecting that. Um, yeah, there's a big part of it in there that let it come to you, the inspiration, but you do have to create some space for it.
Yeah, you
Uh,
definitely need consistency as much as you need inspirations, because
but
obviously
then, like, the whole art thing seems to be such a huge luxury then.
it is. It is. The sometimes, a lot of the times, great artists come from rich families because they can actually have the time to actually do it,
But yeah,
to actually take the time, take a stroll and be like, oh,
yeah,
I'm inspired. I'm gonna write about this and what.
yeah.
A lot of these guys are because they can
Distill
afford to
it.
do it
Yeah,
somehow, right? If you're really starving artist, you're gonna have a hard time because you're always judging. Okay, I'm hungry.
yeah,
There's conflicting kind of responses from your body to you. Be like, what the hell are you doing, man? Get some money. I'm fucking hungry. But no, I have to do this. This is my passion. I need to.
yeah.
But that's the problem, right? Sometimes these really you need time to think. Because imagine if you're working 20, if you're working, full-time job, you have no capacity to think after
That's the
work. You
thing.
won't have
It takes
enough.
energy
It
and
takes
time.
energy, especially when it's met because it's all from here, right? You're not doing some physical output necessarily. It's mostly here. So to conceive the art, to kind of start make it into a reality, that takes a lot of. Imagine writing music, right? The lyrics, if you're writing a song or if it's an instrumental, like you got to think about, okay, the structure, where this part come in, and that's the process by which you got to play around with. And some of it is by feeding, right? You play a certain bits like, oh, this is cool. I like this. I'm gonna use this,
But
right?
like this to me, this is the biggest example is that how much time it takes.
A
Because like
lot.
yeah, it's awesome. Like I'd love to work on a piece of music, and like I personally know people who like yeah, I've been working on this song for years. Like yeah, but what does that
Yeah.
then? What do you do with that if you worked
Well,
on a song for years that nobody gives a shit about? What does that even mean? And is
what's
it
driving it,
and
right?
even then by the end of it it can be such a subjective unique like form of art too that it's too niche. It may be intricate and artistic and it's great and actual you could be working on a thing for that many years for sure, but it can be just too niche, too weird, too too unique
Yeah.
to be anything.
Well, see, the part of the thing is that, okay, any artist trying to create any art is you're trying to put a framework and form to things that are not readily explainable
Right.
or described.
Yeah.
So meaning you're putting structure to the chaos of
Yeah, you're kind
creativity.
of creating your own container
Yeah, so
of
that
reality.
means it is a complete process by which you need to get it through. So the basically it doesn't matter how much time or how you're gonna do it, but you gotta go through that process of putting that framework, right? So for
Hmm.
some people it could be, I don't know, depending on on the actual art form, but it could be because look, it's like, okay, you need to output, right? So a song has a
Yeah.
beginning, middle, and end, and you got to just get through that essentially, right? But how long does it take you to do it
Yeah.
and do it well? That's the art of it, right? How you gonna manage your time, like, because this is not something you can rush through, but it's also something you can't just be like, oh, I'll get to it whenever.
Yeah, that's
No,
the
you
thing.
could be doing your whole life and you won't have no
Yeah.
finished art, right? You could be just
Yeah.
doing it on the side and it will never be complete. So you do have to put a pressure on yourself even. This has to be completed,
Yeah, you have
meaning,
to get it done. Yeah, there's a lot of it. I mean, this is because great art is never finished, right? That's what they say. And it's interesting that even for myself, like, yeah, I could be like working on a piece of art where I am like what I do these days is I generate something with the AI, which is its own creative process, but then I just extensively edit it in Photoshop. And that part of editing it in Photoshop is completely my own process. But the extent of it is where like you yourself decide how much of that you're going to be doing. So at the end of it, essentially, there comes a point where you can say, okay, this looks like it's finished. It can stay right there. and that point that that's artist, that's all artist, like it becomes that stopping point, that becomes that bow, right, that you just like, okay, this is
You,
done, this is what I want it to be,
you basically, you're right.
because you can be keep working on it, but then you can work on it so much that it stops being the thing that it needed to be. It loses the form. Like you go overboard. It's overwrought. It's called, right?
Yeah.
You buried it.
Mhm.
So there's this weird balance to everything,
Yeah,
including
you can't be
art, when to
overextending.
stop, yeah, when to, how much is enough, how much is not enough. It's such a crazy balance that in that alone, like there's no formula or consistency. Like
So it is kind of by feel, essentially.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
if
yeah.
you have a talent for this thing, then you should be able to
But to
feel
me,
like,
like
okay, this is complete.
what I noticed with myself, like I never had the problem with that. I usually essentially I get fed up with a thing. I'm like, all right, I'm
Right.
done with this.
That's
Like
it.
this is what it this is, I like it. Like it's literally comes to a point where like, you know what? I like it like this, and that's it. But this is where I find that you may like it like this, but if you compare it to what's out there, it's not good enough.
Yeah, there
That's
is that
the
comparison. There
paradox.
is that
Yeah.
kind of comparison where it is sort of, there is a sort of a market force, I suppose,
Yeah.
of what your level of achievement is compared
Yeah.
to others,
And
right?
and the question is like what is possible? So, for example, if you, I don't know, just take a simple example, if you make, like even in music, right? This is why there's so many pop songs that are just very simple. There's four chords,
Yeah.
4x4 beat, bum 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 bum. Even with that formula, apparently that's what pop music is, and you can create lots of hits. But that's where's it's crazy that there could be a very knowledgeable classical jazz musician who can be like the most intricate patterns and rhythms and chords progressions known to man. They can put it into an incomprehensible piece of music that is just abstract, and nobody will like it, like, or a
Yeah,
few
it's
people in
too,
some basement will listen to it at some
yeah,
point.
maybe it's too complex or
So what
too,
is,
because
even that doesn't,
because dude, sometimes you have these musicians, they're so good at what they do, they can actually listen and find out, oh, that's out of tune or
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah. they
whatever.
they hear
And
everything.
then the average guy be like, I feel it's great.
They just will
I
not
didn't hear
notice
any
it. Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
But imagine some of them, their experiences are so different. When they hear an actual great music, they're like, oh, they can
Yeah,
tell the
because it's
difference.
all perfect. Yeah, it's all
Right, but
perfect.
for other people, like, I don't feel it. That's like, it's like
Yeah.
whatever. But I like that better. That one's cooler. But that
I,
one's too
I,
simple. But
yeah,
it,
I've encountered that with like with my music when I tried to play the guitar. I think I remember I was hiring like a personal coach or something, and he was trying to like hype me up to just be more confident with my music and stuff. And I really was trying to play guitar a lot during those periods. And I think I played some piece to him, and he was like, "Yeah, that sounds really good." And I'm like, "But I know it sucks. Like I can hear, because I can hear all my own
technically,
mistakes. Like,
right,
and
all the
I
technique
know
wise.
that it needs to be like much better than this. It needs to be not have all those mistakes." And he's like, "Yeah, but I don't hear them." It's
But
like, right,
see,
but
that part is like, yeah, like sometimes we are too critical of ourselves at
yeah,
times,
that
right? Like,
I can't gauge objectively like even my
yeah.
stuff.
But sometimes other people be like, it's the same
Yeah, yeah,
thing
they're
with,
saying it's fine. It's like, oh, it sounds
yeah,
great.
the same thing with anything you try to write, like an
Yeah,
article you post online or whatever, or anything you
like your
post it.
own
Sometimes,
perception distorts
yeah,
your
but then people
ability to
like,
perceive it
they say
objectively.
they really like it, and you're like, wait, why do they like it? I don't like it. I
Yeah,
feel like it's subpar. Why do
yeah,
they say this is great? But then I don't feel that way. That's because you're too in it to kind of, because also the problem is like everybody's engagement is different, right? Some people just like it for some reason, and maybe you're too critical of it. And, so that's the part where it's just hard to formulate, okay, what's the criteria? There's no criteria. It's by feel. It's how do you feel in your, because the thing is sometimes it's just about getting it done and out there and let the audience judge for what it is, right? There's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can work over and over on a piece where
Yeah.
eventually it's just like, okay, you're just gonna lose, like whatever it is
Yeah,
whatever
it
it is.
doesn't make
There's no
even sense to
more,
work on it anymore. Yeah.
yeah. So when it's done, it's done. So sometimes it's just kind of like you just have to do that, where I suppose the greater talent is at who can do that the fastest and use the least amount of time to realize when the piece is done, right? Because you can work over and over, that's for sure. A lot of people tend to do that as well because in your mind you have a specific way you want to convey it, but that's not necessarily the message. Sometimes the message is in itself becoming something more than what you first conceive of it, um it became something more to, because that's the thing, like the novel I'm writing, for example, the whole story was, I don't remember if it was a dream or it was something, but they started off with just that wasn't me. I didn't create it necessarily, like not actively intentionally. It was just something just kind of came out in my head and be like, hey, what if I delve deeper on this one, and basically that whole world just kind of created by itself by that kind of first, that kernel of
That's what
of
I'm
of,
saying.
of the
Like that
piece
this little inspiration comes to you and then you just feel kind of called for to unfold it. You know that there's something there that requires your attention and that if you keep looking into it, it will unfold into something. But it's true that you don't know what it's going to be.
form.
Every time I'm doing that, that's the biggest part of the creative process for me, is that I don't know what it's going to be. Like I'm
That's
sitting down, I'm like, okay, let's pull this thread, and you're like,
and
but
see
at the
what
end of it, it's
happens.
like, what? But I didn't
Like, oh, because
make.
that,
I think I didn't
yeah,
plan to do it this way.
yeah.
That's still the craziest part about the whole
But
process.
that's the beauty of it, right? It's a
Yeah,
surprise. It's like, oh, that's possible. Okay, if I continue this kind of it basically, yeah, the pulling the thread is like, oh, you actually kind of find out, oh, okay, this is possible, because you can't be, basically it's the subconscious, right? The idea that you know more than you do, more than you actively know, right? And there's something inside of you that is, again, is not what you learned, is not what you're actively consciously kind of, there's too much more information in there
dude,
that
we watched like 4 minutes out of that
4
video.
minutes and that's it. I think this is kind of, we're not a reaction video channel. This is not, we do a terrible job, okay? A horrible job
It's
of
not gonna
being a
work.
reaction video. It's
No,
not working, man. This is
we
not,
can't even go through the thing.
no, because
We
all
just like we like to talk too much.
yeah, just just don't know when to
We
shut the
like the
fuck up.
sound of our own thoughts too much. We can't
Yeah,
even
it's
get
just
back
like,
to the
okay,
thing.
this part, okay, we have lots to talk about. So I don't know, man. Is this working? Is this not working? What's the
I mean, to me, that's perfect because like
How do
we,
you do it otherwise? Because I don't think I can actually do a
that's
reaction
what
video
it
because
looks
I
like.
just
Where it's triggering all these thoughts.
because I have seen reaction videos and those people are so good at shutting up. Like they can actually shut up and watch and then have a little burst of messaging or critique and then
Yeah,
and
but
then
see
stop.
again, this is the creative process. Where do you draw that line? Because so far we don't draw that line. We're like, no, we keep talking.
We keep talking because there's
There's
more to
still more
say.
stuff to say. Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe
even
this is the
though
format.
it literally like just from the first few sentences that he had, like that, like I think that's just a very dense video because even just from the premise that he laid out there, I'm like, okay, I have a lot to
It's
say
it's
about this already.
it's very succinct the way that he's explaining the thing,
Yeah,
right? It's
but
very
also this is
nicely
just a
put.
very rich territory and topic. Part of why uh, this is so cool to talk about is because it's a creative process. Well, both creative people, so part of it is just talking about it as a creative process is really cool. There's something
Because
that, because it's the whole thing is just mysterious. Like to me, that it's synonymous with everything else that we talk about on the
because
channel, right?
okay, so as a creative person, this goes for everybody. I think that you will inevitably and you are destined to suffer. Okay, as a creative person, that's your a lot. This is what I realize. Like as a creative person, you're working overtime here. Doesn't matter what you're working with a problem. There's a problem that has to be solved creatively, and you're just kind of haunted by this. I think this is how I feel. If you want to be a creative person,
And the
and
problem
if
is
you are
like,
a creative person, that's
what
what
is even the
happens.
process? What is the process of you
There is no
being?
process. It's just like, okay, there's a problem. I must solve it. I need to solve it in a specific way.
Yeah,
And that's the hard part. It's not like an engineering where, okay, I see the problem that has to be
yeah, but also
solved, and
like all
there's
these,
only so many ways you can do it,
yeah,
and you just do it the most logical way and most cost efficient
but
way to do it.
also like
But
these problems, they're like self-appointed essentially. They're self-agree. I'm gonna make this into a problem.
yeah,
I'm gonna
you are
make
making it into
this
a problem.
kind
Yeah,
of. It's true, huh?
it's like creating your own problem to unsolve it. That's
Because
basically kind of how it
you
feels.
know what it is. Like I've recently, I went back and gathered all the poems that I wrote throughout the years. So I had to go back 20 years, and I've been writing poems, but it's not even that many of them. It's maybe like a couple dozen. So that means that those things, for me personally, they literally are distilled through time. Because throughout that time when I was just making poems, I was just making them because something would come up, and I would like have to, it's pent up. Like I have to, it literally inspires to make it. So some of them, like to me, they're very personal, and there's they came out of their own. So that to me, that's pure art, because that's when art birthed itself. It felt like it was necessary because I didn't have a choice in it. So that's different than when you sit down and it's like, oh, okay, let's write a poem. It still is a creative process, but there's slightly a different aspect of, yeah, like this like how much of it are you consciously in charge of, and how much of it just something that grips you and drives you. Because I've heard of even people like Bernardo Kastrup is a philosopher and computer engineer whose work centers on consciousness studies and analytic idealism. So he's a philosopher, but he's also essentially he's a scientist, he's a computer engineer. So he, uh, but yeah, he is interested in that, everything that all the people are interested in, the nature of reality, how it all works, what is going on. But he described from some of the videos that I saw, he uh, was discussing with other people, is that sometimes he literally feels like there is a creative demon that kind of possesses you, whose work you then get to execute, which is the craziest thing to hear about. But I've heard him talk about it like earnestly with other people who are like, yep, this is what looks like what's going on. Like that's their perception of it, is that like some of this work is almost like you are employed to do it. Like you are here to, because you would be sitting there, you have to do it, like you have to like not sleep and write it out because you're possessed by it. What is that? What is that about? What
It's
is that?
how I can think of it. It's almost like another personality within you. You know how some people can have this disorder, multiple personalities, like they
Yeah.
can switch. It's kind of something like that where, to my conception anyway, it's a compulsion so strong that essentially it overrides everything. Like how do you even describe it? Like you just want to complete the task almost. It's
Mm.
like I need to find out what's going on with this.
But then
And
it's
which
kind
is,
of is makes it true that there's almost like different parts in our psyche, the different little
yeah,
personalities that can take charge here or there, that they
yeah.
all are vying for their own interests and what's important to them. To this one, the creative process is important. They're all about self-expression. This one just wants like good food and reliable,
And
something predictable, and
and
they're all like vying for
and
your
they're fighting, right? It's like
attention
because
and
we
resources.
all
And
know this. as people, because sometimes you're like, okay, I want to do this thing, but then a part of you, like, I'm too lazy, and then you fight over in your mind, oh, do I do it or do I not? Oh, but sometimes most likely
Yeah.
the lazy one gonna win out
Yeah.
because it's like, hey, you can have all this tasty food, the tasty drink. Why would you work? Are you stupid?
Yes.
Right? It's argument, right? As back and forth. It's like, but no, but the art is important. I need to do it. I need
Yeah, yeah,
to,
yeah.
But like, come on, man, smoke a joint, yo. Come on. It's just you know you want it. You know you want it. It's just back and
Yeah,
forth,
what is that?
right?
What is that battle
Because it's
that's
the
constantly going on?
attention. Because you have this consciousness. It's almost okay. You know how? Okay, this is how you explain it. It's like a whole bunch of kids, and then there's one computer, and
Mm-hmm.
there's all computer games on there, and all the kids
Right.
wants to access the computer.
But
I
it's
want to
only
play
one
this game.
computer.
No, I want to play that game. Like, who's get to, sit in the front of the computer because this is the only one access. This consciousness is the only access.
This is
Like
a
they
really
just
good
want.
one. That's a really good
I
analogy.
want the
Yeah.
access now. I want that, but then no,
So
it's my
something
turn.
wins out. Yeah.
It's my turn.
Something.
For
Okay.
most people, though, it's the lazy guy. Is he most of the time he wins. It's like, come on,
What's
bro.
how is he
This
so
is.
powerful? Well, what is his deal? Why is he so powerful, dude? That he can't be so powerful.
But he is so
Why?
powerful.
How
He
is
is so
laziness
powerful.
so powerful?
He's like, bro, you
Just
see me? You know it. You know it. This is what you want, man. You know. It's self-evident.
yeah. What you need to explain it? No.
Yeah. Drink,
just just have
eat,
a good time.
and smoke a joint. I mean, come on.
What else do you
Comparatively,
want?
why do you want to sit there and work? You gotta use your brain to figure
Yeah.
out
To
something you
do
don't even know
what?
what it is. Like I know what this is. I know what this is.
Man, we just
You know,
destroyed the whole concept of art. I think just put it the whole thing upside down.
but you know it's true though. It's so hard to fight against that laziness because like, oh yeah, I just want to relax and do nothing.
Man, it's
But
true. Like it's sometimes it's I literally feel it. Like okay, no, I like there's this guy. Hey, I want to be creative. I want to make art. And there's the other guy. Fuck this shit. Just chill out, dude. Just it's a constant war between these. Like, what is that?
yeah,
Am I schizophrenic? What's going on?
no, I think that's everybody, right? Like you always fighting against sort of, okay, there are times when you're occupied where you don't think about these things. And there are times when you have time where you're like, what do I do with myself? And that's the time when all these guys are fighting over. It's like, oh, the lazy guy is always trying to convince you to be
Yeah.
lazy. And then the other guys, no, we gotta use this time well and do something useful.
There's something like at the core for me for sure, because essentially the way even I do my, like right now when I have all the time in the world, what I do is that I create too many things on the docket. I have too many things going on at the same time, which
And you get overwhelmed.
I can't possibly work on all of them at the same time. But that's what I want. That's the actual desire that I feel. So I wake up and in a day, I make like 5 different pieces of art from different dimensions. That's what ideally what would happen. Obviously, that's not how it happens. And I get a little bit piece done here, a little bit piece done there. But the point is that at any given point in time, I have stuff to do that I ideally would just be doing. But that's not how it works. You don't just put yourself on the schedule like, all right, time to do art. Because I tried this. I tried this a bunch of times. Immediately something sabotages, like something like just makes the whole thing
Yes.
system like
Yeah.
fall
Yeah.
apart because there's something that doesn't like being controlled that much. That it just like, no, fuck you. We're not doing it this way.
Which is, I remember, some people talk about, the psychology, right? In terms of self-help, for example, is that the trick is you want to be kind to yourself. You actually want to be kind to yourself and not punish yourself. Because the thing is, that's part of
Yeah.
that psyche. It's like if you punish yourself, because I've done this, it's like you need to write every single day. It has to be 1,000 words a day. Fucking do it. And
Yeah.
I will force myself in that. And then I will do it for a little while.
And it doesn't work.
And
Yeah.
eventually you just let you break. It's like, no. And then you do what? You do fuck this. Then for a whole month, you don't fucking write. It's like, That's the worst you can do. You rather do small bits at this, and
So
not
what's
force
the
yourself.
formula then?
There's
How
no
do you?
formula. Because sometimes some people can do it. Like, okay, for example, if you're Daily Goggin, then yeah, you just fucking force yourself through the problem. But for some psyche, it does not work that way. You know, you're actually more likely to break shit. Some.
It's like you can't exactly force it. You have
Yeah,
to. I think it's literally just that you trust the creative process. And wow, it's like it really makes me think about more about it, about how it should be, because it makes me want to experiment more with that, with the
yeah.
giving it space and giving it breathe and let it come to you. I do think I'm gonna experiment with that more because I think that's the whole fun part. Because if you just let it come to you, something will eventually. You kind
Yeah,
of just give it space and trust.
imagine if you play the guitar, right? If you have no composition, no nothing, you just have the chords and strings, and you just play whatever,
Yeah,
and something will come to
you
mind,
start
right? And
stringing it
then
together for sure.
maybe you can create a new composition, right? Then and there, right? Same idea with anything. Like if you just by starting, you give yourself that kind of space and form that you can play in and out with. So there's no hard science and hard rules about, okay, this is this exact structure you can start, but there has to be some kind of form, right? Just like there's musical notations, there's structure to music, there's structure to stories, there's structure to all these things. And you just have to find kind of a, you got to schedule yourself in a way that is not like you give yourself permission to play within the structure. Like you do set the structure. Like, okay, I think the best way to do it is like, okay, every single day you should tell yourself, okay, I have to have my creative hours or whatever
Mm,
it is. Maybe not
okay.
even a time frame. Just like for any given 24 hours, okay, not even 24 because you got to sleep for 8, I just say. There's only 16 hours, right? That's available to me, that within those time in a given day, I had to spend some time creatively. I don't care if it's an hour, half an hour, even 2 minutes, whatever, right?
Yeah, it's because it creates the whole mindset. Your attention is on it in some way, shape, or form. And if you keep putting your energy there, it's gonna turn into
Even
something.
if it's like 5 minutes, or like I said, 2 fucking minutes. You're so tired for a given day. You know what? I'm gonna play 2 chords. Even if you go through the motion, that's better than just not doing it at all,
Yes,
right?
for sure.
So you have that structure, but then you're not putting hard kind of quotas on yourself. Be like, I must do this amount by a certain whatever, right? That way, you want to inspire yourself by that framework to be more productive in that endeavor. Maybe something come to your mind. Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to write that down, or I'm going to explore with that, right? So there got
Hmm.
to be some kind of output every single day. So that makes you progress, but also free enough so that you can actually take the breather, take some time to kind of, okay, I'm
I
to
agree.
work
Yeah.
through the.
So you kind of just get more into this creative mental space, but then the creative process can be as much as just showing up and then seeing what comes up. I do like that. Yeah.
I think that's just the way to do it because you can't force yourself to conjure up something. It doesn't work. It's
It's
not like
gonna
set
be
you in.
it's gonna be a different, there's different quality to that art because mm, I'm trying to like feel out that boundary even in my own process because like sometimes I can't detect that boundary where the idea comes to you and you see it. Oh, that's an idea, because
But
that's
that's
all
like
kinds of thought come to you.
because all I can think about, because what I can think about in regard to this is it remind me of acting. So imagine if an actor, it's because initially when you do rehearsal or whatever, it is so on the nose. Like you are performing, right? This is like a fictional thing. But I guess for an actor, you have to be able to get to that headspace where you're like, I'm actually not me. I'm actually being able
Yeah, you
to
have to be completely
play
absorbing
around with
in the
the
piece of art. Yeah,
and a good actor would be able to get so absorbed into that role, like it's just naturally.
yeah,
He's
they
doing
would live it.
he's doing all the action, all the talking, all the gesture, whatever, and eye movements are just consistent with what a character like that at a certain moment will feel like, and it comes off like genuine, right? So uh, maybe this is just what they call the flow state, right? You got to be
Yes,
able to
definitely part of it.
flow. But the thing with acting though is so weird because you are actually like for sure you know you're acting. It's like it's not like you can convince yourself completely that you're a different
Right.
person. But how do you tap into that kind of energy and mode and
That's the
just
weird part, because what kind of skill is that?
how do I couldn't do it because I wouldn't be able to. I'm like the whole time I'll be like
Yeah,
I'm
because
acting,
you're too thinking about it, because
self-aware.
usually
You're
you're
too
not
self.
thinking about it. When you're acting, you're just being yourself.
Yeah,
You're not. There's no thought process there. You're just being. But there, it's like an extra program that you have to run in parallel and constantly be aware of that. That's what you're doing. But you have to not think about it that much, because you have to act. You have to actually be it. That's the paradox.
you know what came to me is funny is how many take did it took for John Malkovich to do that scene in Burn after reading the whole the beginning, the
I
whole
mean, he's such a
like
professional. It could have been done
because
in one take.
but imagine one take. The other actor has to
And they have to
and
sit there
not
with the
and
serious face.
it was so perfect. I mean, could it be done in one take?
But
I don't know how can you
he's,
imagine how you can do it in one take? Like it just
yeah, there's no
like
way. No, 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 no. Because he's so serious with it, dude. And you're all acting, you're all sitting there. And the movie is comedic. So it is funny, but it's only funny because it's so serious that, but it's funny objectively. So when you're in it, like, how do you not laugh? I still have no idea. It's a whole separate skill, because like, imagine you're sitting there, what, and you have to be legitimately pissed off, like,
yeah,
what the
yeah,
fuck is this? You have to feel that emotion. You can't be like laughing and being angry at the same time. You have to genuinely be so pissed off that you have to live it. It has to be real.
yeah. So I just thought about that, and this is a whole
Yeah,
process. Imagine, right? The camera is in your face.
yeah.
You know you're
You have to
acting. You
make it.
know this. You have to make it as if this is the real thing,
Yeah,
right? It's to be able to do that without
that's
eh,
magic. Literally magic
that
at that
is
point.
magic.
Yeah.
That is magic, and I can see how or why certain people
The
will want to
people are
be an
getting paid
actor.
a lot
Well, yes, but then I think if you truly believe in the art of it, that's what you live for, right? You live for the moment, like you're in the moment.
to create
You're like,
these unique,
yeah, like I can't imagine it because you're painting the picture you're with your own
yeah,
self, with your own,
with your whole
you know? It's
being.
not like
Yeah,
it's not like a canvas. Okay, I see. This is cool.
yeah.
I like this. But you're like, you actually have to be it
You have to paint it in 3D
because
in real time.
one of the way that I don't think, okay, not that I don't think, I can't do it. I can't be an actor because I can't. That's not how I I'm
No, you
not
never tried it.
well, yes, that's part of it, but also I don't want to experience those emotions. I don't want it. Like imagine playing an angry guy. Like I don't want to be angry. I don't but you
That's
have to
true,
be
but
though,
that's the commitment to the art.
right? You
That's
have to
where
be
it's,
really thinking about something pissing you off as a kind of
because
a
it's true, because that, like, that's the, essentially that's the emotional labor of an artist. To depict it, you do have to experience and feel it, like, ideally, right? This is what it would make the perfect scene, right? That's why some of the artists and directors, they have their own methods where they it's a mystical process too. Like, some of the processes, like, they can be just, you can be, there can be nothing. You can be like doing the scene, you can be experimenting with it, you're not having any expectations. You can just, you're letting the character like come alive. What the hell is that?
the
How
one
does that
and
work? What is that?
the amazing one of the amazing examples is again the Leonardo DiCaprio in the Django Unchained,
Right.
right? Where he was playing the character and he actually cut his hand
Yeah, yeah.
and you know how much he's so absorbed in it. It's like once he realized like okay I gotta play with this, I gotta
Because,
play
I
with
mean,
it's like
I fully believe like everything is there. Your emotions, your adrenaline, it's all in there. And as an artist, you probably like seeing it with some form of in
yeah
the background, and you have to stay in it it's such a
I'm sure he
crazy
was
process.
I'm sure he was salivating in his mind. Like, this is
This
fucking
is yeah,
perfect,
yeah,
right? I was like, even though he's fucking hurt himself, right?
yeah, yeah.
Pretty badly, but he's like so committed. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna play this. And it's so
That's what it
funny,
is.
right? The other actor, the actress who he put his hand on
Oh, yeah,
her,
yeah.
like that was real, genuine. I was like, what the fuck is going? Like this real blood, right? It's all real. And then
Yeah, yeah,
everybody realized
yeah, yeah,
he's injured, but
yeah,
nobody stopped the fucking truck because everybody
yeah,
understand. Okay, he's in the zone. He's in the zone.
yeah.
Let him do his thing. Let him cook. Let him cook, and he fucking cooked, right? It's like, and all the actor understood what's going on, and they like, yep, we're in it. We're definitely fucking in this, right?
And you just
And
let the
that's
scene unfold at that point.
imagine the psychosphere in that
Yeah,
moment, in
it's
that room. Like,
electric, dude.
everybody is just fucking in
It's
the moment, right?
sizzling.
Everybody's. That's why they live
Yeah,
for it. I'm sure a lot of actors live for that. They live for that moment to be in that kind of, So that's what art kind of drives people, right? It's like it's a feeling. I think it is a feeling. No matter how you cut it, it's like
it's you're creating
whether you
something.
write a book, a
Yeah,
long ass book, or or a song, or whatever. It's something you want to express, but you're at all times you're having a hard time doing it. I think every piece of masterpiece of art, the author, the creator, always think that it's not enough. That it's like, I have not used the right word, I have not used the right tone, the right music, whatever. Because
yeah. That part,
somehow,
like, I don't think there's a way to reconcile it because that process can be infinite. Yeah, because what's the stopping point? Everything can always be something else, something better, otherwise with some kind of criteria. So that still is intuition that kind of that lets you know, like, yeah, you know what? No, that's enough. It will have to be, yeah, because otherwise you don't know how to cut it off. This is why, like, to myself, even like when I'm writing something, there's only so much I'm gonna like engage with it and reread it and like do it so many times until, like, all right, fuck it, like, this is good enough. Like,
that's
it'll
enough.
have to be like it will have to
Yeah,
be done,
yeah.
because at a certain point you just start losing, like, okay, what else can I do with
What
it?
else I
I
can?
don't, yeah, I don't see anything else. I think it should be okay. It all be obviously in, it is connected to your overall ability and skill that evolves with time, but you still kind of always have to fall back and rely on that. It's just on the fact that, like, according to everything that I know right now, up to this point, this will have to be good enough for now.
Yeah. So
I
that's
think,
why an art is, again, like life itself for us is unfolding in as a time-based media, right?
right,
So at a certain time, it's just the certain time of your life that's the kind of work, the creative work that you can create with your amount of knowledge that you have, awareness at that time. Then this is the best that you could have done at that time, and there's just have to move on. Sometimes you just have to understand, okay, this work is done. I need to find something else. I have something else I want to say, right? And and the thing is, it's like basically you have to let it fly. You don't know the result. You don't know how people's reception. Because think about it. I think, for example, uh, J.R.R. Tolkien, right? He was known for Lord of the Rings, and that's the only thing he's known. I mean,
mm,
yes, he's also known as a, you know, a famous language scholar, and create his own language, all that stuff. But as far as people know of him, is Lord of the Ring. That's it. Nothing else he writes that most people will know other than the famous work. Same with Frank Herbert, who wrote Dune. Dune was the only thing that people know him for, and
right,
nothing else he wrote.
hits,
Nobody, right? Same with George R. R. Martin right now. Everybody knows him for Game of Thrones. That's it. I'm sure other people will read his other work, but he's
mm,
not known for it, right? So no matter what you do as an artist, you will be known for something that, I don't know, for good or worse. Like, the public perception is different than how you think you want to be presented, or it will just be a thing of its own. There's nothing you can do about that, right? Like, you might just be pigeonholed into that one thing because everybody only know you for that. And no matter how much else you try to break from the mold, you probably can't break it, right? but that should be okay. You should not be worried about, okay, what other people's perception of you as an artist. The only thing that I think that really is true, it should be to yourself and what you want to do, because it's a problem you're trying to solve, right? It's a thing that's internal to you that you have to kind of try to find a way to resolve, even though you kind of understood that you probably never will resolve it, but you will create something out of that process. And I think is that's what matters, is you have to be true to yourself and what you want to, because again, the message can be read many different ways. People can misinterpret your work. They can have a whole different idea about what it's about than what because you could be saying, hey, this is what it's about. And people are like, nah,
Yeah.
no,
The
I
perception
like
will
it
be
this way better.
different. Yeah.
I think this is what, so it will get, no matter what, your creation will get away from you, right? It will just
Right.
basically be a thing of its own. And I think you just have to be true to the process, and that's kind of all that you can do. And I think that's one way to not lose to the pressure, right? Because you have an internally consistent sort of, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. And anything that goes counter to that is going to go on the wayside. And this is part of it, I suppose, is if, for example, if say all these people coming to you want to sign you up for the thing, whether that's a music, in music or otherwise, there always will be people doing that, and you have to have enough sense to be like, I don't want them to change what I'm trying to
Right.
say, and doesn't matter you pay me whatever money, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna accept it if it gonna change the
Yeah,
nature
because it kind
of.
of defeats the purpose of the
Yeah,
thing, right?
because otherwise, if you allow that to happen, you're just gonna fall real quickly because these people don't care about your intention.
Yeah, and
They just care about the money it generates.
yeah, they don't know anything about about your process, about your creativity, about your process of crafting this meaning, about your art form. It's essentially it's always all yours. Whatever uh, kind of value that can be imbued in your art, only you can craft it that way and keep it that way.
And
Anytime you kind of sacrifice that or endanger that, it destroys the creativity.
and especially like we mentioned before, now is the day to do it for artists because with all these media and things you can self-promote, that you can stay true to yourself, right? Because you're not you're gonna find ways if you actually do create genuine art and it's kind of really good, then people will appreciate it. You will find ways to support yourself doing it if you're true to the art. So this is paradoxical because if you're true to it, then it's almost guaranteed that you're gonna find some kind of momentum. But if you veer off from the message, you veer off for the sake of trends, for the sake of you know whatever is going on now, maybe for the short term you can capitalize on that and maybe make a boatload of money, but eventually that's not going to be, for one thing, it's not sustainable because that's not you. You're trying to cater to the trends, the thing outside of you, right? That's not going
Yeah.
to work. That's not you, because what people want is actually your interpretation, your view of the world, your thing. They want you, right? And I guess the idea is that you have to be genuine enough. That's the prerequisite. Because without that genuine truthfulness to yourself, you're not gonna create anything meaningful, right? Because everybody wants the real thing. Nobody wants a lie. Nobody wants to deal with some bullshit, you know? And there's too much bullshit out there. And I think
Yeah,
the only
what makes art real? What is the real art? I mean, this is the crux of everything we're talking about here, but we can't even
finish the fucking
we
video.
can't even watch we can't even start watching it.
Nope.
But
It will
let's
be
attempt
it'll be a 10 hour it'll be a
let,
10 hour
series, yeah.
endeavor.
But
Yeah.
I think that's what it has to be because that's how deep of that topic is. So let's take this as a rabbit hole and let's just keep digging to it. How many ever episodes it takes us to to get through it because
Just finish this one video.
I think that's worth it, dude. I think that
Man.
means
Or
that's how
maybe
much there is in
or
there.
or maybe we front loaded this
We
thing so
front loaded,
much
I
that
think
there
so,
was
yeah.
just nothing else.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's more stuff to it. Uh,
Yeah.
so let's continue watching. But yeah, let's see
My
what
God,
else it
people gonna
triggers
be
for
like,
us.
these guys are ridiculous. Like, what the hell? This is a reaction video, bro.
It's so this
You
is where
kidding
it
me?
is. It's our own type of content where like yeah, we're not doing reactions. It's all
Yeah,
like
it's not.
the video is the catalyst, right? It's
Yeah,
the catalyst for the conversation. But this to my point is that this is how well it works. We only have to watch like 3 minutes of it for us to be talking about it for 2 hours nonstop. Dude.
the hell's going on, man? I see. This is the unintentional consequences of starting something like
Yeah.
this. I never
You
thought this
you
was gonna
think you're in
be.
control of the process?
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like, okay, nice and concise, just on to the point, and boom, boom, boom. Great content. Oh,
What
instead we had
point?
to talk. It's, instead, this is what you get.
That's what it looks like. So let's attempt it and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. So this is where how can art can't run away from reality of where the art is being made, right? It's not divorced from the actual physical world. All the artists, what they engaged with was something in their actual world, in their actual reality that they engaged with.
because
Yeah.
because systems are there for a reason, and these are kind of the logical conclusions when it comes to people. And when people think about what they're creating, think about the modern world right now. We created all this stuff, right? And they all become systems in themselves, right? You have the whole stock market, you have the whole real estate market, you have all these things, right? And there are the creation of people through time figuring out, oh, you could do this. And
Hmm.
the basic assumption is profit, right? It's the most basic thing that a person could think of. Oh, if I do this, I can profit from this. I can do. That's the most basic 1 plus 1, right? In
That's
terms of
not what.
self.
That's not at
In,
the root of art, though. That's not
no,
how
no.
artists
What I'm
think.
saying, okay, what I'm saying is at the baseline level, right? As uh, a human being who is a living creature who has certain um, living requirements, let's just say, right, to survive, that's the basic calculus. So most people are doing their
There will
calculus
have to be
along,
some kind of output.
yeah, along that
That's
line, which
return on
is,
investment.
yes, that's the most kind of what you can understand, because this is why a lot of people, for example, they say they don't understand art because to them it's like you can't sell that, or you can't profit from it directly or something. They can't think of it as a, oh, if I do this, then I get this, right? They're like, you're doing a whole bunch of what is this, right? Either they don't understand the art in itself, or they just think like this is a rubbish, this is bullshit, this is make believe or whatever. So what I'm saying here is that the baseline reality of the human existence are built based on these things. As he indicated in the video, it's about money or power, right? That's the baseline by which the society runs on. And art, paradoxically, is the kind of the glue that holds society together, even though we don't put as much emphasis on it. But everybody appreciate art, right? I think a lot of people, most people can appreciate art, and that's what kind of the unappreciated part about it, because people kind of took it for granted that, oh, you have these things called art, and yeah, it's nice. You can experience something like this for free or for whatever. But that's what makes it meaningful for people. Because the
Right.
thing is, you
It's
can only do so much money chasing, right? There's only so
yeah.
much you can do building all these things without meaning. Because the moment you lost the meaning, you're gonna have a crash, right? And what's happening right now, for example, in the economy, is that we build out the bubble, we build out the speculation, we build up all these hype and hope and things until it does not hit reality, right? So the unpredictable nature of our existence is factored in. And what art is trying to do, in my analysis, how I think about it, is that it's trying to answer the questions that usually you can't find answers to. It's the same as kind of like religion, right? Why would anybody believe in religion? There's no ROI to it. There's no kind of, you can believe in something and then what? You just magically believe that God's gonna grant you your wish, right? So for a lot of people, they're like, this is bullshit. That's no, but for a lot of people, they have genuine beliefs. Why is that, right? Because we are limited in our ability to understand and our, so that's what you see out there in the modern economies are these baseline assumptions that people make, right? And it drives that kind of survival instinct. We all want to make more money. We all want to, this and that. But that can only go so far. You can do that your whole life, and then you can, at the blink of an eye, is done. If you don't have a belief system, somehow a structure that gives you meaning, if there's no meaning to it, then it's all meaningless, right? You could be working your way through a career ladder or whatever, but if it's just purely for money and these type of things, you'll
Yeah,
never get
that's
far.
not enough.
But
That's
that's
just
how most society are run on, right? Is money. And I'm not saying there's absolutely anything wrong with it per se, but if that's the only thing that you're chasing, like think about culture, right? Think about what makes a civilization great is the art that they create. It's the kind of monuments. It's the thing that kind of like, wow, these people are awesome.
yes.
This is what people say when they visit China, for example. They see the Great Wall. They see all these things like, holy shit, these guys they're creating all this stuff that they didn't have to
Yeah,
do
or
it.
just go travel in Europe and you like understand
You're amazed, right? You're amazed
what
at
can
yeah,
be created
what can be created,
by
and you're like,
centuries of
that's the thing that
culture.
you enjoy, not because how much money they used to make,
Right.
right? Empire come and fall, right? It's the kind of the grandeur of the idea of what they create out of uh, but
Yeah,
that's artistic.
the extent of their creativity essentially, right? What
Yes.
forms it took and what splendor it evolved into, for sure.
So
That's
in
the
the
way to
past,
gauge it.
is religion, just like the Michelangelo example, right? Paint the Sistine Chapel. I'm sure he only did it because of is for God, right? To him, I think what what must have run through his head and why he will spend the pain and suffering and 4 years and more doing this thing. Why? Because it is for God, right? In his world, the church is everything, right? I am a servant of God, and therefore I must create art for God and for the church. If the church says so, then I must bear my sacrifice and do it, right? Because otherwise, why would he do it? If because he's like, imagine him being basically like a pop star of that world then, right?
Right.
Like he's the famous guy. It's like, yeah, he's everybody knows Michelangelo at the time, even at the time he's alive. Everybody want him to create art for them or whatever, right? But he chose the church. Why? Because it's the church. This is higher than him. That's why I think that part of is the religion part of it is definitely is part of the decision. But you see, there's a higher power. So for artists, I think the art itself is the higher power. Like if you're true to yourself as an artist, you're like, I am creating for art's sake. This is the thing I believe. It's not something that I
Yeah, and in
uh,
that sense, I think art is very spiritual. Like, so then if you were ever considered it seriously, kind of like, somewhat we touched upon in this episode, this is what it looks like. It's very trippy, and you are kind of like looking for the boundary between the art, you, reality, and all of it. And it's all just this dynamic process of a search and definition and exposition of different aspects of reality that you're participating in. But it's all very fluid and very, very ill-defined.
that's the kind of the beauty of it, right? The fact that nobody can really find, because it would be boring if everybody can find exactly the meaning of, like that would be like, okay, well, everybody know it then. Then what's new? Well, there's nothing new then. If you know, I just say if you could know, right? If you could know, say the secret to the universe, like, well, what then?
Yeah,
It's a dance,
it's
right?
kind of makes me think about too many things at the same time. Like this topic just explodes into into just exploration of reality. Like, but for some reason, I start thinking about when we're talking about art and this kind of exploration of the nature of reality. I keep going back to math because math is also like essentially beautiful. A lot of people could, you know, see math as art because there are all these relationships there. Like, what is going on? Why are all these rules, you know, and all the ratios? Why all of that is there? What is that? Even that alone.
Because you gotta, if you make anything, there has to be something by which is the base, right? For example, DNA has letters, right? We formulate it as letters, but they're just encoding, right? That specific kind of
Information, yeah.
molecule is information. You repeat that, it forms structures, right? Art has to have a structure, like we have been saying. The idea is almost like in the real world, you can't have anything except kind of a pattern of some sort of thing you built towards, right? The components built into higher.
An informational pattern. Yeah, we talked a little bit about this before, kind of like the fundamental reality of information. That information is at the basis of everything. Like, you know, if you keep looking for fundamental things and more fundamental things, you could say math is at the base of everything. But then you could say information overall is at the base of everything,
Yes,
because, you know, when you start thinking about what information is, it's like everything.
and also is a differentiation that's baked into information, right? There's 0 and 1. The idea that you must distinguish things for it to become more. Because if everything is the same, then there's no change. You have to have change to be registered for it to become something else, right? So in that way, everything is encoding, right? Math is encoding the basic reality of
Yeah,
what you observe, and I mean, I think that, you know, with as far as art is concerned,
art is it's kind of like translation of meaning. It is, but a translation from what? From like pure, undifferentiated experience of a thing into like, what is this? When you look at the beautiful sunset, it doesn't have to be put into words. It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't even have to. You don't even have to identify any emotions that you experience. You can be just looking at it and soaking it all in, and you'll know exactly what the whole thing is without even trying to, like, oh, I'm experiencing this, I'm experiencing that. You look at the beautiful sunset and you're like, ah, and that's it.
and why is that, right? Why
Yeah,
is that perceived in that way?
yeah,
Why is it beautiful?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What is even color? Why would you, right? Just as they say, you can't even communicate what red is. How the hell are you gonna know? Because each person's conception of the color is different. Nobody can show you what color red looks like, but we all kind of agree, you know. And then the extension to that is that multifacetedness that you see with a sunset. It's like there's so many details in that. It's like, okay, why
Yeah, it just
you can
becomes
understand it, you
like
can
a
understand the scientific method by which to describe it, but it's
that, yeah, doesn't do anything just for the whole. At that level, like a beautiful sunset is literally seen as like a god's painting or something, you know, like as because how is it there for you to, because you do see it and you yourself are saying like, oh, it's beautiful, but that's just a sun setting over your planet every day. But you can, it's so subjective. Yeah, you can be in a specific place, you know, in nature, and it can be a beautiful sunset, but it's only if you are there to stop and give it like attention, to even recognize it, you know. So it all goes back to somebody recognizing the
observation,
essence
perception.
of art. Or it's like everything is art. You can see, you know, you can go downtown and look at the life of
Yeah,
downtown as an art of modern human life, you know. It's like a lens. art is like a lens that you can adopt, that you can see everything through it, both the
Yeah, it's
reality that
like
you experience and how you derive meaning from it.
it's also like the photography, right? The idea that you're gonna specifically capture
Yeah, frame it.
something from the reality, and that's intentional. You're intentionally letting other people see, okay, this is the part I'm trying to convey it to you, right? And that's the artistry. Not just the technology enables it, but it's not itself that's just a tool. But you're using this to kind of give you a way to look at the world that's vastly different than before, right? Because before photograph, people can only in their memory recall what beautiful sunset looked like, and now they can capture it, right? So the transmission is through different mediums, and that's the exploration that people do with it. But it's just we I guess we just have this kind of awe at the stuff that we can't explain, right?
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
like you can be amazed by the actual explanation, but it's so different than just what you actually went with seeing with your own eyes, experiencing with your own senses, right? It's one thing to describe it, but to feel it, right? I think we naturally desire that tactile, that sensational kind of input, you know, in which you can't explain it. You can, I mean, you can try, but that's just a whole nother kind of way of looking at things. But to actually experience it, it's like, okay, why do people go to concert? Yeah, the sound and everything, but that's the point, right?
It's the
Is to
experience. Yeah,
is the experience
the
that
emotions you can feel by kind of engaging with the music with the rest of the listeners. It's an there's an energetic quality to it. Like music specifically and live concerts specifically, there's definitely something to the fact that hey, it's all happening right now in real time, and we're like it's the art is being made in front of you. There's something really magical about that.
and that's the power of it, right? Imagine in the modern day, in the heydays of the well, heydays of the 90s and
Dude,
even
I have to
earlier.
say before I forget it, like the last concert I went to was I saw Korn
Oh,
in London, I think. I drove down there and dude, those guys been performing for 20 years, right? And the what they keep bringing to this day to the shows, I was just blown away by that alone because I was like, imagine doing this for 20 years but doing it with that level of passion and bringing you have to bring it there because the type of their music and songs and everything like you can't just like coming out on the stage like no 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 you have to put your whole thing into it. It requires real energy. Like you have to be in it. You there's no days off. Like you have to bring it on all every time single time. I was just blown away from that alone because I was like, wow, I don't know how you do that. Like that's you definitely spend yourself there. You essentially the best you can hope for is that you'll just spend yourself in the service of your art and
that's a good
you're
that's a
and
money
that's
well spent. That's
yeah
a
that's the
time
most
well
that you can
spent,
hope
it's the
for
most you can hope for.
that you've had enough to channel it. Essentially you have to channel it.
Because I think, as they say, right, it's better to live fast and die young than live a boring old life when you don't do nothing, when you don't
Yeah,
create anything, when you just like, I've seen too many of that. People just gave up on their, hopes and dreams and just because reality, I know reality is hard
creative
enough, but
aspect has to be there.
but
Otherwise, it's
you have more energy, you have
it loses
more
spark.
in you than what you think you have, I think it's just like, are you pushing hard enough, I suppose? Do you believe in the vision that in your head, right?
Yeah,
Because like, look, I'm not saying it's easy, bro. Like I said from before, every artist is cursed. Every artist is like is a is creating problem for themselves, right? It's
yeah.
like you guys are
There's self doubt, right? There's like do I know anything to do anything, to be anything? Uh, but the more I go into it, the more I understand that it's some kind of a dynamic process where it's not like can say that you are an artist, that you are making something. I think even that would be like too arrogant at that point,
Yeah, I
because
look.
if you've
We
been
might
in,
say we might use the word artist, but
yeah.
I never refer to myself as an artist. Like it's,
Right,
I
right.
feel it's,
That's,
I
yeah.
feel it's too. You gotta be more humble. You
Yeah.
can't be saying that. Oh, I'm an
You're
artist. Like
you're an artist, like like Prince. If one Prince said that
if
he's an
other
artist,
people say that
that's
you
an
are,
artist. Yeah.
that's high praise, but that's how it's supposed to
But
be
yeah,
used. You
an
can't
artist
refer
in that
yourself.
sense, if you make yourself into an artist, and other people will tell you about it. But yeah, I don't think you can really think of yourself as an artist. That's weird.
Yeah,
That's kind of
it's
defeats
weird.
the, yeah, it's
It's
not
almost like,
the right lens at all.
yeah,
You
almost
are
saying like, oh, I'm
more
the.
of, I do think you have to think of yourself more of, you are the art. Like you are the art that manifests,
Yeah,
and the actual art that comes from you, that's like a fruit of that dynamic process. But you are part of it. You're definitely part of it.
yeah,
I think that's the secret, is that is the art is the process, the creative process of of unfolding of self, of some kind of that creative principle that's at the core of anything that we could identify. It's just already there, and all we can do is give it time,
shape.
form, and shape and space. But that principle, it comes out, and that we don't have it. It's already there.
It's, yeah, because also it has to be unfolded in the right way as well. Because what differentiates from true artists and wannabes and pretends, it's just the level of, not commitment is part of it, right? It's how committed you are, but also how, basically how true you are to yourself, to your art, to the thing that you wanted to express, and not just without, not with just any other reason that it can be overwritten. Like you will be deemed a hack if you, all you do is just trying to use the system to kind of
Yeah, no, no,
make profit and whatever,
that's
right? It's like the trends, the whatever. You're just using clever kind of using your own
that's like
cleverness to,
you're trying to mechanically hack it, but that's not what anything
yeah.
creatively or worthy of, of creative appraise does not appear in the world like
And
that.
and
You
see,
can't hack it.
yeah, and the thing also is, you, like I said before, an artist will always suffer. Because why? Because you are your worst enemy. You are always criticizing yourself. You always, this is not good enough. This is not good enough. And in a way, that is the way it should be. Because you can't just be like, well, look at what I have created, you know? No, it's always not good enough. But you do your best, right? You do your best to kind of, that's what great art are being created. Because the artists themselves are saying, nope, it's not good enough, right? But they capitulate, like, okay, this is the best I could have done right now. So I'm sorry, but you know,
Hmm.
enjoy. That is it. But then people love it. It's like, yeah, well, just, this is take a lot of work. This is a very, great, good taste and what have you. They'll be the judge of that. But you are always criticizing yourself. Always is not good enough, and it has to be that way, because if you're true to yourself, you know that whole process. This is the similar thing with spirituality, actually,
It
because with
is, yeah.
spirituality, it's like I'm trying to grasp at this thing,
Yeah.
but it's like
It's
you
ungraspable.
can't, or is you just not gonna, but you keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's because you feel like there's something in it that you
Yeah.
need to work on.
There's definitely something paradoxical at the core of both art and spirituality, and it's all part of the same thing. I do believe that the creativity and how much it is involved in life, and how central it is to everything we do, because you can be creative with anything. Like the way you cook involves a huge amount of creativity,
Yeah,
and that's just cooking. So you're creative in anything you do, whether you notice it or not. But bringing that attention to the creative process of anything, I think that's the coolest, like one of the coolest things that any human can do. just realize that they are the artists, that they've already been given certain artistic tools that's already
Yeah.
there, and
Like
to
imagine
treat them as such, to treat them
we
as an
we talk
innate
about
artistic talents.
we talk about game from last episode. And even games, man, the creativity that goes
Oh
into
yeah,
creating these games, especially these days with the computer games and the video games, the talent that is required, the structure is by which that game unfolds, right? All the programming, all the arts have to go into it, all the thing, all for our enjoyment, right? It's the idea that we created this thing. We want you to experience it too. Somebody created this stuff, right? It's not for nothing. It's not for, yes, you can say, well, they make it for money because they can sell how many copies, but the artistry itself,
yeah. Without the
it cannot
artistry,
be,
that wouldn't be
without
a
it, it
thing.
won't work.
Yeah,
Because this is why when older gamers reminisce about the old games, it's like, holy shit, they did it. They created the perfect thing, the perfect structure for that perfect experience, right? And that in itself is that's an artistic endeavor because you're
oh yeah,
creating an experience. You're creating a thing. It's all an experience. You read a book is an experience. You play a video game is an experience. You do a song is an experience. Go to a concert is an experience. And that's a fundamental thing that just keep people. This is what give us life essentially in a way that it give us this is the intellectual life. This is the part of it that distinguish us from animals, right? We create art. We create something by which we can, I don't know, be amazed at everything, right? We
yeah,
actually we want the world to know how much we appreciate what we can actually do with what we perceive and what we, is that kind of, that's why we have that inner drive, the kind of impulsion to do art and to appreciate art, because you can't say that there are no people on this earth who say that they hate art or they don't appreciate it, you know.
yeah.
I think anybody can appreciate art. It's just
Right.
maybe your taste is different. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
like this piece of art versus that, but there's got to be something you actually are in awe of, right? You're like, wow, these people are amazing. They're doing this thing for me to experience. Like you definitely have those moments.
yeah.
Doesn't matter what culture you're from, which part of the earth you're from. You always have that. That's fundamental to human. What you can say, what distinguish us from other creatures, or is a part of that. Is part of consciousness that we have. Is one of the I said earlier. Is like the emergent property of consciousness of to the fact that you contemplate about the reasons why this, why that, it also give you the capacity to um
It's like, I think it's the two sides of the same process, essentially, of the same coin, right?
right.
Because one is asking why, and the other one provides the why and the creates for it. It's almost like it's a creation process that is, it's
It's
simultaneously,
answering.
yeah, an inquiry and an answer to it right away. But to me, that's like the most metaphysical thing you can think about in terms of
it,
what God and reality is.
it's
It's a
it,
simultaneous manifestation of reality based on a creative principle that just, for its own sake, for its own, to it's like the whole reality is an artwork dedicated to the to the whole concept of artistry.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something like
Because
that.
but there's yeah, exactly. There's that chase toward that, right? Toward that how would you say that the artistry? Like artists are trying to not just compete with each other, but like they know
But
like there
perfect the
is a
form.
higher
Yeah.
level by which you can get there. It can be perfect. It can be more than what it was,
Yes.
right? And they constantly people are like the real artists are doing that. They're not
Yeah.
trying to make a profit, whatever. They're like
You're
they're actually
trying
trying
to,
to
yeah,
make better.
to perfect the form, the process, and
The,
to just, yeah, and
yeah.
that's the
So
whole chase. That's the only chase of
ima-
how much of a perfect,
it, it is
how
perfect
perfect can
because
you
think
make it?
about it. Imagine the like say Christopher Nolan for films, right? Or Denis Villeneuve, right? Making those big movies. Like the amount of money that's being burned, right? The amount of talent that have to work
That
together,
takes to put it together. Yeah,
take it to put it together. I still keep
it's a
reminding
huge
myself of
investment.
like the movie Tenet. I still could not grasp that movie,
Yeah.
no matter how many times I try to look at it. But it's just something, right? It's so unique. But then people actually went through the trouble of shooting that and make the editing and make it cut, make the way
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you experience it that way, right? From all movies, like all any movies, you had to make an effort. You had to make an effort to make it look real or believable or whatever, fantastic or whatever have you. But the process, whole industries are created to it. I mean, yes, there is the money aspect to it. People do have to eat. They do have to get paid. There is an industry, but fundamentally, right? What it's doing is to find a way in which to, well, film is the foremost example. It is the most commercialized aspect to art. But even within that, there is an artistry to bring a movie to
Yeah,
life.
of course, to
You
all of it.
still have great directors like Denis Villeneuve, Christopher Nolan, all these
Yeah,
great
everybody has to
director.
come and deliver on all
It's,
sides. Yeah.
so you have all levels. You have the popcorn movies, you have the different subgenre, the kind of movies, and so yeah, there's a whole bunch of the field is huge of what kind of movie you'll be making. And then even within that, there's the level of how much commercialization. Then there is a whole in the like art house, right? That actually for doing the film for its own sake,
Yeah.
right? That's a whole There's a you can be a connoisseur of anything from wine to movies to these art house movies or whatever and art
But
and
this point where the video stopped is essentially about the fact that all great artists served either power or the commercial
or
aspect
money,
of it. I
right?
mean, it's true. Essentially, when you are a great artist, it means you have an ability to depict, to translate, to sway, to convince people of something. It's a story making ability. There's a great power with it because when you paint a picture a certain way and you're saying this is what it means, for many people, they just take it as is. They're like, okay, that's what it means. Because not everybody's going to be like understanding all the connections and what everything means and where it all comes from. That's where it's kind of the genius of it is all also the kind of the danger of it because for a great artist to uh, put all those things together, it's like you have to be really smart to be aware of all those things and to put them together. But essentially you become, I think, yeah, you become a target
I
of all the
look
existing interests and powers.
this reminded me of what happened to what his name um Gleason, or what was the last name? The guy who played Joffrey in Game of Thrones. Um, he quit acting because of now there's many reasons, right? But part of it was just people's reception of his character. Like people take him as the real Jeffrey. Like they will abuse him, but people will actually call him name and
People are
whatever.
insane, man.
Just they're stupid, right? But that just shows how good he was. So how good he was at that role that
That's
people
just,
it's
but
stupid, I
how is
know.
that even possible?
But that's what happened, right? He got abused for all these just
That's insane. How do people
even
not?
appearing in because everybody just associate him with the character, and then somehow, you
But
know,
that means like some people can't even differentiate fiction from
distinguish
reality or
fiction
something?
from
What the
reality. Yeah,
hell?
it happens. This happens. Same with
That
that
is crazy.
actress who played Skylar in Breaking Bad. She got so much hate and like hate mails and whatever and abuse. It's just crazy how people they're so stupid. Like
What's going
she's playing
on?
a role. She's
It's a
playing. There's a movie. It's
fictional
not
thing. What
real,
the hell?
right? But you see how much emotional
Uh,
power art can have, right? Like you're
yeah,
just so in
that's
it that
seriously,
you
that's
like,
power.
right? You
To
get
influence people like that where they think that's reality, essentially. Imagine you did your job so well, you convince somebody that that's reality for real.
so. I mean, I know he quit the acting for many reasons, but I
Yeah.
think part of it was just the maybe he feels he felt like disillusioned by all that experience. Is like, yeah, like I don't know, it is stupid, right? But somehow that kind of make the experience so bad that for him it's like, this is not worth it. It's not. I have better things to do than,
Yeah, she just
you
didn't
know.
like the fact that it's kind of the character essentially has a life of their own, and then
Yeah,
they literally have a certain power over you. Like
yeah,
with the character that you created, it the ripple effect that it caused in other people to experience real emotions that they now direct toward you, who is
yeah.
an actual person, but they're not even able
It
to.
In the perfect world, everybody should come to him like, bro, you're so brilliant, man.
Yeah,
Oh my God, I
yeah.
almost could
What?
hate you. You know, that should be what's happening.
Yeah.
Everybody
What?
should be like applauding, like you are so awesome, man. Like
What else?
this is.
What else would
But
happen? Why the hell?
some people will just like, I don't want to fight him or want to punch him because
But
they
what
just so angry
the
at the
hell?
character or whatever. But like, this is
What do
how
you
stupid
mean?
some people can be.
Yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
what it means, right? Because I can't think of any any instance like
But
that. What do
it's
you
real.
mean?
There are people out there who are so into the movies, the TV shows that
Like
they actually,
what?
yeah, they actually do stuff stupid shit like that, you know? But
Wow, that's got to be some kind of a mental thing because if you're not able to
yeah,
like separate fiction
distinguish.
from real world like that, what something's going on. Yeah, something's not right.
Oh, there's so much things that are not right in people's head, okay? There are a lot of people who are, I don't know, man. I can't even imagine how's that even a process, you know?
Yeah,
But as for what we're saying, the artistic endeavor, it's like it's hard to put your fingers on it, but it's like
we're
for
gonna have
those
to
who
keep digging
are,
into it because we're gonna have to cut it off here because we can't keep going. Like, I mean, we would like
like,
eventually we might need to do a marathon, marathon experiment where we can see how long, like how deep does the
how deep you can, yeah.
artistic hole can go with us? Because
Oh my
I mean,
God,
I'm pretty
there's many
sure,
different ways you can do that.
dude. I am willing to bet you that if we did want to try that as an experiment, we we would be hard pressed. Would have to pass out from like exhaustion until we would
Yeah,
we could keep
marathon.
going. We could
We could keep
literally
going.
just keep going, dude.
Yeah,
Just have some water and just keep
and
going. This is where we would have to test the boundaries of all these theories and assumptions. But yes, I think we'll just take it in parts. The
fine.
topic of creativity and art and so much that's involved in there, the fact that you can get lost in the sauce like we did in this episode, is a big part of the creative process. It's a self-referencing phenomena that we will be digging into. Just on example,
Yes,
this one little video among
5 minutes.
among millions on YouTube, and that's just a thing. That's one thing that could take you uh, 15 hours it could take us just to talk about some of the topics that are uncovered there. And we could keep doing it for like many
I
episodes just from with this topic alone.
like we say to ourselves, this is therapy to me
Yeah.
because I don't think
Yeah.
about this stuff on a regular basis, and it's good to kind of
Yeah, this
word
is
it
the
out
opportunity to think into it.
to understand. Because see what we talked about here, right? Went through the modern economy and the connection, the art that it has, because that's came to me, right? It'd be like,
Right.
okay, in connection to art, what does that mean when we talk about the whole structure? Why is it a system? Why is a system in place, right? And that's just kind of how,
Yeah, the commercial aspect of it's always there. There's, I mean, for anybody who decides to do art consistently,
because the matter of the fact is you gotta create a system by which to bring it to
right.
people, to make it
Which
into
means it has to be
reality.
sustainable. Like you have to sustain the process.
The process,
Yeah,
just
it
as
has to
in,
be stable.
just as in, making movies, they have producers. Their job is to get the money. Their job is to get everything together so that this thing can happen, right? There's so many moving parts. I mean, imagine like direct a film crew with all the people, thousands of people had to work together to make it
Yeah.
happen. That's just the logistical nightmare, right? Like just like you got to have all these people. Their job is to direct people to where they're supposed to go.
Yeah.
That you have all kinds of jobs from the the cinematography crew to the actors to the actors
Yeah. So many
retinue,
teams.
right? The makeup artists, the suppliers, the this, and depending on the movies, like they have to choose the sites, and sometimes you can. For example, I learned about the one for Doom, because they had to have those pristine sands. They will have to be careful where they stand and where they go, and so that there's no
Right.
left. You don't leave
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
footprints so that's
Because
in
it's
the
part
in
of
the
the
shots,
setting.
and
Yeah.
right, so stuff like that, right? So the art can manifest in many ways, and I think is from small to big to, but they're all that it's the genuine question and answer that people are trying to, that's that's the spine of it all that holds everything, right? And I think that artists are the people who they're willing to die on that hill. They're willing to, basically burn
Yeah.
themselves out,
Yeah.
because to them it's like there's nothing else. Because to them it's like, okay, all that rat race means nothing to me, right? I don't want to be like, I know we all have to make sacrifices and concessions, because you can't, there's no perfect world where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna do my art and nothing else. Well, yes, if you can sustain yourself, right? But how? You do have to find the middle way of that, of can I do it in a sustainable way and yet still make my time worthwhile? Because the thing, like we discussed, you can't do art full time, not 100% on, right? You need the time to breathe,
Right.
need time
It's
to
not
let
going to
it.
be like 100% output
It's
all day, every day.
how
It's
I
not
see it
possible.
is like, you're doing a stew, right? That stew needs time to get all that flavor out, right? You can't just be like, oh, I want this right now. No, you gotta cook it for hours for that flavor to come out. So that's the same with art, I think, where a lot of the times you gotta gather all the ingredients, and you might have to let it just shimmer, however that means, right? But you gotta put your magic sauce in there somehow, right? You put your own mind to it. And for some stuff, it might come out pretty quick. It might just like a stroke of genius. It comes to you and boom, lightning in a bottle. It's out there, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it might take you longer. You go, oh, this is gonna take a long time.
This is
I
what I'm
assign
interested
my
in this whole, because like when people talking about multiple years for an art project, that's a different type
yeah,
of art project. That's like you gotta be completely absorbed, because it's like any project, right? It means that you have to be constantly in the details of its. You have to lend your whole mind to it, essentially,
yeah.
to the process. That's how it appears. Otherwise, it will
And
not happen.
And this is what I signed up for myself, because if you try to write a novel, it just means that it will take a long time, right? This is just no way around it. That's the art form, that's the medium by which you do it. Then that's the way you're gonna have to suffer. Because sometimes I look at it and I'm
You
like,
have to birth
what
it.
the hell?
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell am I doing? This is gonna take a long
Years.
ass time,
Years.
and I have no clue what I'm doing. Is it
Yeah.
gonna be any good? I have no clue. But it's just this constant battle of being like, well, it's going to be worth it at the end if you do your job right. But again, the other guy comes in, the lazy guy comes in saying, nah, bro, come on, be realistic, you know? But that's
Yeah.
constantly happening, right?
Yeah.
Like it's fighting right
Constant
out
battle.
here. So that's why it's,
Yeah, well, we'll get to the bottom of it. It's just not today, apparently, or not in the next one. Maybe it will take a few episodes. But yeah, we're committed to
yeah,
the
but we'll
process.
commit to the process. We're gonna finish the video.
We're gonna
So
give it time
thank
and
you
space.
for the creator
Yeah,
of that video.
that's a good start.
Apparently,
Very densely packed. Yeah,
apparently you created something very good. We can't even go through
can we
5 minutes of it
get through it?
without,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
because
too
very,
stimulates too many thoughts.
yeah, like he put it in. he basically distilled everything, right? That's why it's in the video
Yeah,
format
yeah, yeah.
of unfolding. But for us, that's a good amount. That's good information for us to kind of go through because like I said, I don't go through this on a daily basis, right? It's good to kind of sit and think about it because sometimes these things you don't word it out and therefore you don't have a
Yeah, so,
conception
so
of what it
a lot
means.
of these topics and what our dives, they're like just meditations on it. We're literally taking something in and like really trying to understand what that whole thing is. Because as we've seen, anything that what you put your eyes on is just a huge universe of its own that can be like no end to any of it.
But this is part of that meditation process, right? Because meditation, some method of it, right? I remember learning about it is to visualize. You actually have to visualize as a meditation, right? The I guess in their context is the sutra, but it's
Yeah,
kind of
there are
like
different ways of doing it, but it's essentially you doing something with your attention.
yeah,
It's you're
yeah.
deliberately manipulating your attention, your focus, and you can also do it. It involves intention as well, but it's this, yeah, the magic property of just the awareness revisiting or visiting anything consciously with full presence and, in our case, a desire to even understand what it is we're talking about. Because as we're trying to do it, we're like, this is what it looks like. We're trying to
But
comprehend is like, what do you know about this? What do you know
yeah,
about that? And then it takes three
but
hours.
see, that's the important part of it because otherwise you will not be able to get to it. Because the thing is, if you think about anything in life, it's weird to think about when you contextualize what that means according in to other things, right? When you put all these together, it's so weird to think about human life. It's like, wow, this is all the things that we do
Yeah,
on a subconscious level, and
it's
it's
all
keep
connected.
happening. Different kind of feelings, different kind of rationales. Like you know, you wake up and go to work. You are in a one state, and when you sit down and do your art, that's another state. And this is changing, right? And any given moment, the moment you feel hungry, it changes how you feel. It changes how you perceive things. And like all the things that happens, you're colored by the vision. If you don't think about it, then you're just naturally being taken over by whatever feeling that's.
Hmm.
So this process is important to do as
It's like
sort of
the whole um, kind of project of art is that is just you getting carried away. I think, like we did in
yeah.
this episode, you just get carried away, and then because you're not doing this like deliberately, you're not planning it out like this.
You
So
introduced you
so
introduced
it's
the
kind of
input
just
here.
spontaneously like manifesting, and you were being there.
Well, and also on the plus side, I think the good part of it is that we are very interested in art and we're trying to do it, and
Yeah,
therefore it's
well,
very on
that's where
topic,
it's like
very
the art is in the eye of the beholder, right? This is where
yeah.
it's also very interesting because it's true. It's how much detail you're willing to see in anything, because as we've seen, it's an infinite amount of details and layers into anything. Because if you start looking, if you start dissecting it, as we are just doing with the simple topic of, I mean, not so simple topic of art and creativity, we can't find even an approach the bottom to it or the crux of it. So
And
we'll
there's so
we'll
many
keep it
different,
digging.
because also just one last part is that for even the individual artists, their message are very different. Some people are obsessed with certain ideas, right?
Hmm.
So there's always, because you're not no artist is trying to cover everything about life, right? They're not
True.
trying to cover every single thing is my message. No, it's a specific way of putting a specific
That
message
they're zeroing in
that
on something. Yeah, it's
that
true.
that resonates with a lot of people, right? It's like people just realize, you know what, that's true. So it is speaking truth, essentially. You're trying to say, what they say is like, in stories, they use lies to tell you truth, you know,
Hmm.
that because the story is made up. But what it's trying to tell you is the truth of the matter.
Right.
Something in
That's
which
it.
either you can't say it straight up, or it's just better that way. It's better to be in the story than say, this is the idea,
Yeah,
right?
it demonstrates something
Like,
real.
people wanted to understand that in an intuitive manner. They don't want to be told. They don't want to be told, like, oh, this is the truth. No, show me. What's the, what do you mean? And if you can demonstrate that, they're like, oh, wow. Just like a good story with a good structure, good story, you feel like, oh, wow, I see. I see that's how, like, for example, Breaking Bad. It's a total original story, but it's a story that you understand as you watch it, the entire thing. You understand, okay, I understand what the
It
message is.
unfolds. Yeah.
I know what it's trying to tell me, but there's so much nuance and
Yeah. There's so many.
layers
Yeah, so many layers
that
to that. It's
that you
literally
enjoy
woven.
it. That,
Yeah.
that it's not just, okay, I get the message, I get what you're saying, but
It's
it's so
everything.
much better.
Yeah, it's
But
on
it's so
all
much
levels.
better in this way, it unfolded in this way. That's so much better than you telling me what the theme of the story
Right.
is straight up, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's how you create that experience. You create this. It's like it's like a theater. It's like a thing that you just, you make it. You make it into an experience and you present it, you know?
Right.
And that's the kind of, it's like giving a gift to somebody. You create it so meticulously. You have meaning behind every single
Mm.
decision.
Yeah.
And then when the person receives that gift, it's like, oh wow, I actually see what you mean. You want to tell me this, but with the thing, right? So yeah, it's a matter of taste, matter of just wrestle with the problem, right? So I think that covered quite a bit
Yeah, that's it. That covers the ground for today. So
for
we'll
today.
dig into it much deeper in the next one. So stay tuned for that. Stay crispy.
Stay tuned for the series.